clap. Clap more. Excitement. Need just an applause in the background. All right, welcome everybody to the World of Dragons podcast, the podcast where 2.5 dragons. I already forgot what I said. Discover, discuss, and review dragon-centric content, books, movies, TV shows, and the like. Video games too. I keep forgetting to say video games. It doesn't flow naturally.
Yeah, it's just because you hate video games.
I don't hate video games.
No.
I've been playing a lot of Civ 6 right now. I want a fantasy version of Civ 6, and I know there's Endless Legend, but it's like, I don't like Endless Legend's mechanics, like the way they do combat, the way they do their tech tree.
The funny thing is that every 4X game we ever play, I always gravitate to the stealthy, sneaky, just annoy the shit out of you race, and I don't do it on purpose, but
4X games always feel too slow for me. I played too much Command & Conquer back in the day.
Back in the day, you still play Command & Conquer.
Exactly, that was yesterday.
All right. Anyway, normally that's what we do, but this time we're taking a break because the lieutenant's brain, but also because it is our 1-year anniversary. Kind of, sort of, more or less. This doesn't match the exact upload date of the first episode, but that's because we got started a little early with pre-recording and stuff.
You need to put the FNAF "Yay" sound in there.
That's extra work. I have to do so much editing. I don't want to do extra work of finding sound clips.
I'll find the sound clip. I'll give it to you.
Ugh. Yeah, these two don't edit. They leave it all to me. How fair is that?
You just do such a great job, though, right?
I do the bare minimum job. Okay.
That's a better job than what we can do.
Thing is all right, this is going to sound like an attack on Ray, but it's not meant to be. The reason I don't do it is because when I come home from work, I'm immediately being pulled in. I want to play this with you. I want to do this with you. I want to spend time with you. And so I don't, and then whatever time is left is personal time. So I don't get any time. If I came home from work and Ray was like, all right, go edit, I'm leaving you alone all day, I would probably do it.
But yeah, so for this episode, anniversary special, I make no secret of I'm trying to emulate other podcasts I listen to, because this is the first one I recorded, and so we're learning. All of us are learning, and so I'm just like, kind of just emulate what you like, right? Anyway, what they do is on their anniversaries they read, not user email, listener email, answer questions, and kind of just go on. They let the tangents and the rambles roam free. Open the gates, let them out. And they usually do it because they're all like middle-aged people talking about like D&D and stuff, so they're like 30. They usually do it while inebriated, just to like help the conversation flow better. And so I thought, let's copy them. Let's do that. That sounds like fun.
I'm tired enough to emulate it, so let's go.
Yeah, I was going to say, Phantom has alcohol. I'm trying weed, and Dilettant just has sleepies.
All right, to be fair, so even if I were capable of getting drunk on what I have, which I'm not, because I essentially have I have Mike's Hard Mango and Mike's Hard Strawberry Lemonade, but it would take all 12 of these to get me drunk, and I'm just doing it because it kind of gives you the warm fuzzies after like 4 or 5 of them. I have a ridiculously high tolerance.
Well, I mean, you might be only half dragon, but you're still half dragon. You're still like 3 times the size of a person. It's gonna take you more.
Yeah, 3 times, bitch. I'm 10 feet tall.
Yeah.
So 4 times. Got you.
No, would that be 4 times?
No,
I don't know.
An average person is 10 feet.
No. You can't just go by height though, because of the ratios. Square cubed law. Thickness.
All right. Well, in that case,
you are a hefty boy.
Okay. Yeah, probably 3 times then. Yeah.
Anyway. So yeah, that means I don't get to play my fancy little intermission song. I didn't get to play it last episode either because we didn't have an intermission.
Ray gets so sad.
You're going to not be able to play for 2 more episodes, too.
Why? Oh, yeah, because we're doing the rest
we're
of the
still
books.
doing lazy scales, though. Rip.
Yeah.
There is one question that was asked that I can't wait till we get to. It's going to be my favorite question. But I'm clicking on the pinned messages here in end of episodes. Do we start at the bottom and work our way up? Because the bottom was the first question asked.
Yes, I also forgot to pin one of Ender's questions, so start at his question 1.
Yeah,
I jumped to message there.
Yeah. The pin goes, the very first one is at the very bottom.
Yeah, that's the order it does it. Okay, but yeah, so we're gonna answer some questions that our listeners have asked us in our Discord, and we also got a couple, like 2 or 3 emails, and so we'll tackle those at the end if we have time, and if we manage to get all 3, let's do it fast. For whatever reason, I'm always worried about too fast.
He's always.
But if
worried.
we get through too fast, we'll start just screaming at each other about what makes a proper horde or some bullshit like that.
All right.
Yeah, we will return to our regular scheduled programming next week. Next episode,
which is 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks. Yeah.
In which we will be doing book 5 of Lazy Scales. Yeah.
Yes.
Because we really
once we finish book 6, we get an interview with the author.
Yeah, we definitely are excited for that. So the first question is from Random Van Glowboy. I'm assuming it's Glowboy. Sorry if that. Anyway, so the first question is okay. Here it goes. If you could design a dragon video game, what would it be like?
Now, this one I've thought about.
I've ranted about that in a couple of episodes.
All right, so Dilettante first.
Okay. All right, I have an idea for a city builder that I have been wanting to do for the longest time. You start out with a dragon noble, and what he'll do is bring in smaller populations of like kobolds, minotaurs, or werewolves, or whatever. And over time, you'll build resources to attract more dragon lords that will bring in more smaller populations. You try to keep them happy so that their populations can work for you. The only problem with this method that I've thought of is that it limits growth, because after a while, you'll get all the lords, and then that's it. You got all the dragons, but I want like endless dragon growth. So I got to rework the formula. But essentially, you try to get the dragon elites into your town. You work to satisfy their needs. They bring in more population. Rinse and repeat and grow indefinitely. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. That's a good concept. And so, Ray.
Okay, so again, I rant about this a lot in particularly the Golden Treasure episode, so I'll just try to basically just speedrun and paraphrase. I have several ideas. Like, everyone's got ideas and just no one ever makes them, but like, I've like sat down, like sketched out multiple ideas. One is Stardew Valley, but you're a dragon, and it eventually evolves into, I think the term is colony management, once you like attract a bunch of kobolds, minotaurs, lizardmen, whatever. Then there's like a couple other ones that are also just like really stupid ideas, like this game but with dragons, like I mentioned before we hit record, the fantasy style civilization game, like just have a faction of dragons. And again, like I know Endless Legend
It's probably
has
one
a
of their
dragon faction.
titles.
Yeah. It has a dragon faction, but the thing is, I don't like their tech tree, their combat style,
Or there is
mechanics.
architecture too, because it's all just like really tall hexagons.
It's because they made space games first, so I think they're just used to futuristic architecture. But yeah, I just don't really like a lot of the mechanics. I like Endless Space, but Endless Legend did really weird things I didn't like. Then there was also Age of Wonders 2, which had a dragon faction kinda, but that's just a really old game, and I just want a new one. Also, that's less Civ and more...
Age of Empires?
No, I guess it is closer to Civ. It's still turn-based. It's just... It was not exactly the same type of game. It was much more combat-oriented, less empire management, whatever. But the big one I want to make was always going to be an adventure game that I always envisioned to be like over-the-shoulder third-person, behind-the-back third-person, whatever you'd call it for a dragon. But it was just basically a life sim. Like, you grow up, you hatch as a little baby, and that's your tutorials when your parents teach you. And then you just live... It's a simulator, you just live life as a dragon, go claim territory, hunt food, find a mate, whatever. But yeah. Go Bantam. Go Bantam, go.
So for my ideal game, there was a game on PS1 ages and ages ago called Tale of the Sun. And you played as a caveman that ventured out. The objective of the game was to hunt mammoths and use their tusks to build a giant ladder to the sun. But the way it worked is your caveman had a very limited lifespan and could get very sick and die. But with each thing that you ate or killed or area you uncovered, if you managed to successfully hunt a mammoth and bring it back, it would pass on those traits and the knowledge to your children. And essentially it was trying to generate a perfect caveman who could make the trip and back with no problems. That would be, now replace them with dragons. That would be, and, you know, replace hunting mammoths as the end goal. But, like, essentially you go out and you start eating random things, finding out what's poisonous to you, what's good for you, you know, have babies. Then your offspring go off and adventure, and with each generation, your offspring becomes smarter and stronger and are able to survive much easier. The other ideal game for me would be essentially Dungeon Keeper, but without the complication of someone coming in to fuck up your day. I would prefer if it was just like just focus on the sim management aspect of it and don't have to worry about defense and how, you know, heroes coming in to fuck up your shit. I would love if it was just like a very down to earth. You could either play it super nice and treat your subjects wonderfully, or you could play it like Evil Genius where you're torturing people to get them to work harder or something. I don't know. But that way, you know, you could leave it open for the player to decide how they want to play the game, good or evil. And lots of really cute little races that can come in, you know, goblins, kobolds, you know, lizard men, minotaurs, all that stuff. I would like that.
I just feel like calling out Tristanix, one of our audience members' comments in the text channel, how my dream game was basically just 3D Golden Treasure. And it's like, yeah, actually, I had the idea before playing Golden Treasure, but then after playing it, it was basically like pretty close to my idea, like 90% hit rate to my idea, which is why I loved the game so much, because it's what I want. Yeah, like I would have random events and everything just to make like each life different. But yeah, so Golden Treasure is the greatest thing ever. Go play it. It's on sale. Depending when this goes up, summer Steam sale.
Or wait until it's not on sale and
give them all the money.
All right. The next question: what is the first thing or things you would do if you ever actually met a dragon in real life? And this question was by Din Din.
First off, I am a dragon in real life.
So if I was staring at a dragon like right now, and he was like looming over me, I'd fucking run.
Coward.
Listen, I'm small, he's big. There's reason why I need to run naturally. But like, if real life, like we drop...
First, it's not clarified in the question, but I think that we should establish that the dragon is your ideal dragon size too. So for me, a dragon.
Yeah, I thought that was assumed.
Okay. Yeah, so
it's like the first dragon that pops in your head kind of deal.
Also,
okay, I'm still running.
Okay,
here's the thing: if it's sentient, like it can talk, it can think, and whatever, it's not gonna kill you. So there's no point to run. If it's not sentient, then I don't think running is gonna save you. So you might as well just like stare in awe for.
I mean, Lewis was semi-sentient. He still had a thirst for human meat.
See, I would argue that during his losing control times, he technically wasn't. Because he had like literally no higher brain functions, I think, and that's also why like I understand the need for the going savage for some of this stuff, the story bits to work, but it's why I don't like it. Like as a trope, I don't like it. It's really close to mind control.
So Dilatan would run screaming.
Yeah, my ideal like dragon is like big for obvious reasons. So,
what are these obvious reasons?
You know the obvious reasons. It's obvious.
All right, Ray?
I guess that depends. If it's like gonna talk to me, then I'd definitely be gushing internally. But it's like, I don't know if I would like to think I could control myself from like impulsively like walking up and like touch leg. Or just touch snout if you like load his head down. And then if he's not gonna talk, like this was like a wild animal or whatever, freeze. Because I think running you get them to chase.
It is a common predator instinct. Like they always, with most predator animals, they always say if you confront one, just back away slowly while maintaining eye contact.
But like the things like I would freeze because like the instinct to run is bad, but also it's like at least I can sit here and look at it for a bit. I can be like spend the next like 10 seconds like, wait, am I dreaming right now, or is this actually happening? And then yeah, either I don't have to worry about the next step, or the next step is like, hey, it's friendly.
So for me, my ideal dragon is Clydesdale horse size, maybe just a little bigger. Enough that you could, like, climb up on
its back, but it's not so big it can't fit indoors.
Correct. So I don't think I would even give it a chance to talk. I would be running back into the house to get food and bring it out, and I would treat it like any other stray animal that I found, where I'm just like...
Imagine it's like a little dragon tourist that's coming to ask you for directions, and he's like, and you're like immediately running, screaming. He doesn't know the difference between scared and excited screams.
Not screaming. I immediately go inside, get whatever food I can find, and immediately bring it out, and just try to offer it to him, and then... if he accepts, then I start petting.
I mean, just again, imagine he just lands like before he can even get his first word out. You're just already running back and he's like, oh, okay.
I smile and I go, and then I come back out a few minutes later and I'm like, here, some bread.
We'll see if he left out of shame by then. But if he's still there, and he's just like, thinks it's like a weird culture thing. He's like. He can't digest bread, but it'd be rude to turn it down.
If it were not sentient, I would probably still do so. I would probably still try to pet it, try to feed it, tame it, bring it inside. And bam, pet dragon.
Yeah,
bam.
I think in real life, Bantam's got a death wish.
I kind of do. I see videos all the time where someone gets approached by like a wild bobcat or whatever, and they just like, oh God, I want to pet it. And that's me. All right. So the next question from Zana. How long have each of you liked dragons?
Since I was 12 years old, probably. As far as when it started, like I never actually really explored it. Like when I was a kid, I got access to the Spyro demos from those little like PlayStation Underground discs you got for the PS1, but I never played a full Spyro game back then. So, like it was neat. But it's like I never really got fully exposed till I got my own computer. By like I was maybe 8 or so, but I didn't know how to like do the internets until later on. So all I did was just Sven co-op the entire time. This is where I met my boy. This is where I met the TAF gaming group. And then by the time I was like 11 or 12, everyone was like going on about how great the internet was. I was like, I'll start searching around. And then one thing led to another. And then 2 grades later, I'm doing a PowerPoint presentation about how great dragons are in front of the entire class. That's her true story.
And the exact wording is how long have we been liking dragons? When did we start liking dragons?
How long have each of you liked dragons?
Okay. Me like dragon long time. No, it's kind of been like for as long as I can remember, dragons and snakes have really always interested me. I think I just like reptiles. Nope, scratch that. Dragons aren't reptiles. Editor's note: destroy evidence. But yeah, so I'm trying to remember when the first piece of dragon meat I consumed was. It would have been. So I have no memory of this. This is completely based off a story my mom told me. But apparently, I loved Sleeping Beauty, the old cartoon, so much. And one of the things I would always say, like when I was barely learning to talk. So this is like 2-year-old me or something, whatever the normal age is. Actually, slightly later than the normal age, but that's a different story from me learning to talk late in life. Spoiler alerts, because they tried to raise me trilingual, and that apparently slows down development. Like, when the baby finally speaks, they'll speak all 3 languages, but it takes them a longer time to start speaking. But they gave up halfway through because they got scared that I wasn't talking. So, I don't know 3 languages. I'm sorry. But, so anyway, I would always watch the Sleeping Beauty cartoon, and one of the things I would always say in my little broken learning to talk language is like, Mommy, the lady, she turned to a dragon and go bye-bye. And like that was like my favorite thing to say, like just one of the few sentences you learn and then you just say that nonstop and drive your parents crazy.
Yeah.
So I take that as proof that I've liked dragons forever.
Oh, jeez. So for me, it started probably when I was young teen. So I grew up poor, as people may have heard. I wasn't able to afford really cool clothes. And my cousin outgrew all of his Jinko jeans and all of his Jinko shirts. And they gave me a huge trash bag full of Jinko products. And
Wait, I remember this story. Did you like dragons because of pants?
yeah, so every shirt and every pair of pants by Jinko, or at least the ones that were given to me, all had fucking dragons on them. Dragons, snakes. There was one that was a shark biting a surfboard in half. There was one that was a gator hugging a surfboard. But Jinko had like a fucking love affair with, dragons and reptiles and stuff like that. And then when I actually got my first job, Jinko was still kind of around, and there was a gray hoodie that I got that had a gigantic Eastern dragon on the back, fully embroidered, so it wasn't like cheap. And it was an Eastern dragon holding a yin yang in one hand and a flaming 8-ball in the other. And I just was because I've always been obsessed with snakes as a kid, and so dragons, Eastern dragons specifically, really resonated with me. The gateway dragon, because they were very coy.
In this scenario.
Yeah, because they were very coily, and it was just like a head and some arms and then just coils everywhere. And I was so obsessed with them that I would, when I had my first computer and I got my first digital camera for Christmas, I would lay the hoodies and the pants out, and I would take the cleanest picture I possibly could and then use them as my desktop wallpapers or Photoshop them out or whatever, and use them for other things. But I was obsessed with Jinko products and all the mascots and stuff they used to do. And so that's where my fascination with dragons came from, because that branched out into Western dragons, because for a while it was exclusively Easterns. But then it branched out, and I just became obsessed with fantasy creatures in general.
You don't have to lie. You can be honest and say you don't actually like dragons. You're just here for us.
No, I like... all right, I will say something that will upset you. I do like Eastern dragons a lot more than Western. Yeah.
That upsets me more than him. What the fuck?
I'm sorry, but it's true.
I used to be Eastern, so this is fine.
Yeah. What the fuck?
I'm sorry, but that's it. It's the truth. I like long, coily noodle dragons. Next question. What would your ideal dragon book be like?
Hold on. Wait.
What?
There was like something I wanted to add on to the end of my story for the last question. Oh, right. So I guess I'll just cut and paste this, whatever. But yeah. So like I started it too, but then I was like all throughout. Like it didn't ever really dip down. Like it was pretty consistent through life, because like I was the weird kid in high school that would always have a dragon on every single T-shirt. Would try to doodle them in class, and would have posters. And I bought the almost the entire set of Dragon Mega Blocks when those came out back in like 2000 something. So, yeah, I'm still the weird kid that likes dragons. Put them on T-shirts.
All right. So the next question is also from Zana. What would your ideal dragon book be like?
Well, it'd be an audiobook.
So you're gonna say, well, it'd be a movie.
Oh wait, no, can I change my answer? Yeah, it would be a book, it'd be a movie.
No, because movie and books are different mediums that do different things.
That was the best possible answer, Dilettante.
Yeah, being an audiobook.
I haven't read enough to know what my ideal would be. Like, I really can't answer it.
Yeah, that's fair. Who knows? Maybe we'll run into your ideal one day. You'll be like, this exists, and I'm like, this has been out for 20 years.
You sure, you can try. I doubt it.
I doubt it too, but it's like, maybe, what if? Do you have one, Bantam?
I think a Dragon Goes House Hunting would be the closest for Dilettante. And
honestly, you know what? Mix Dragon Goes House Hunting with Vankir, and that would be absolutely perfect.
Vankir is pretty good. I feel like you're gonna love book 2 and 3 when we get to those.
So my ideal dragon book would be anything that does not involve humans, elves, dwarves, hobbits. Literally, it is just dragons. Wings of Fire before they introduced before they started forcing humans into it.
That's your only requirement?
That's my only requirement. I'm sick and tired of...
By that logic, the first 5 books of Wings of Fire were the greatest thing ever.
They weren't the greatest thing ever, but they were enjoyable.
And violent.
Well,
but like, what
I don't care about the
could have
violence.
made Wings of Fire better for you? Like, because that would be more in line with your ideal.
Less characters. See, the only
Just
reason
less in general. Too many names to keep track
the
of.
only reason I didn't like Wings of Fire is like, aside from the fact that you have a group of 5 traveling everywhere, but then everywhere they go, there's like another 5 to 15 more dragons that are talking or being introduced, and then they move to another place, and you've got to forget them for a while, and then be introduced to a whole group of new ones. And then the next book comes on, and it just feels like they do the same thing. They move around, and it's the same 20 to 30 other names that you have to memorize.
It really doesn't help that, the first series is basically, let me introduce you to most of the Dragon Kingdoms, so each book was a different kingdom. The second arc doesn't do that nearly as bad, so you have less characters to worry about.
Yeah.
But then the third arc, oh god, the third
The
arc.
ideal dragon book to me would be, for example, Age of Fire, but without humans in it at all.
I don't know what my ideal would be, mostly because as somebody who reads a lot I definitely have different moods. Like, I want something that's really lighthearted and silly, like Vancure, or I want something kind of really serious and dark, which would be closer to Age of Fire, kind of like just using examples that these guys have read. So it really depends on what I'm looking for, but I guess the safest bet for ideal would be...
You'd want a story that never ends, because you always complain about finishing a book.
I do just want to like have it would be kind of a slice of lifey book where it's like a lot of dealing with day-to-day stuff, because that's my complaint about a lot of the books like that I say are short, is there's not enough fluff in between the major events. You never really get a settling point. You don't get to see what is normal, so that I can see that this new thing is what's actually unusual or whatever. So, but it would definitely be slice for lifey, because I'm trying to think of, like, it would either be 1 or 2 point of views, because the idea would be it would be a dragon and a human kind of just experiencing each other's cultures. Like, a dragon is living in a human city, or a human's living in a dragon city. And I feel like it'd be better as a dual point of view, because you would get to see both characters' point of view. Like let's say dragon in a human city. An idea I had was there's foreign exchange students or something. Like, maybe humans and dragons only finally made peace like 20 years ago, or they just appeared 20 years ago out of nowhere. For whatever reason, we're only now crossing borders like just recently. But so this dragon is going to basically high school or something, and it's from their point of view of how weird everything is. They're being the only dragon in this. It feels really weird being inside a building, because they're used to having like open roofs because of flying or whatever. So slightly claustrophobic and just other weird human stuff. And then the point of view of the human, who could be either the best friend or like a bully, whoever would interact most with the dragon, and just their point of view on how weird the dragon is. He does really weird things, and so on. Like, get both point of views, even if it's only one way culture shock.
All right. Next question.
It's why I really like Tooth and Claw. It was a lot of
Next.
Culture and politics, even though Bantam hated it.
Oh my god, I fucking hated it.
But like, and that's also, Mating Flight was a lot of politics too.
Yeah, that's why I
love
hated
that.
it.
Too much politics.
Oh my god, Mating Flight was really good.
Politics, the book. So the next question is from Comrade. Who is your favorite artist right now, and why?
We're talking artist as in pictures, or like music artists?
Don't know. Let's assume.
I'm assuming pictures, because that has to do with dragons.
Yeah.
Then
I'm going to have to go with Ruth Thompson. Have you guys ever heard of her?
No.
no, I don't know people's names, so like I can't even answer this question because
yes,
I don't
you
know
can.
names. I'm like, I like this
No,
picture.
Ray likes
and...
Red Isaac.
Oh, see, okay, I know his name only because his style is very distinct.
Yeah.
But then there are a couple of other ones. One, I guess I'm intercepting Dilettant's question at this point.
Yeah, you are.
I was like, I can't pronounce this, but like Lizjack? Lismer? I think it's Lismer.
It's Zer.
What?
I know who you're talking about. But anyway.
And Taria White, I think, would be
Tara.
another one. Tara?
Tara.
I follow her on Twitter. I'm just bad with names. Even when sober, I'm bad with names. But those would be my top 3 that I can think of right now. Go, Dilettant. Sorry.
All right, this one I've actually followed since I was a kid, and I still have a nickeling for the dragons that she draws. Ruth Thompson does a lot of poster work. Bant, you remember that blue dragon that was hanging up near the refrigerator?
Yes.
That's one of Ruth Thompson's designs.
Ah, okay.
I can't describe very well how she does dragons, but I'm going to post one in the audience den, which you can be a part of for only $5 a month. So you can see just what kind of dragon it is, because when it comes to... I am terrible at describing things. But this is her art style. I mean, you've seen this around. And even if you Google Ruth Thompson and then Google Images, the first thing that pops into mind is exactly that. Which
that
I get a few
like
more
a dragon
posters.
picture that goes on a folder that you buy for school.
Yeah.
Which I had several.
So for me, it's going to be Sold Till I Die, also known as Rena. So I've actually gotten a couple pictures from Sold Till I Die. It took a really long time to realize that's actually what her username is. Because for me, I always called her Solid Tide. Because everything is in capitals. And
Oh, see, that's someone whose name I forgot, and I like them too. So
yeah.
top 4.
So this I'm posting in the audience stand. This is made by Sold Till I Die. And
I look adorable.
I also have another picture coming. And on top of that, because I wanted to make sure that Ray has reaction stickers that currently reflect his form, I actually commissioned 10 stickers from them for Ray. Because they have pretty much nailed Ray's... Like, Ray even said, like, I really like how cute I look. So we went ahead and we commissioned Raya for some stickers for Ray. And I am very excited to see how it's Rena, not Raya. It's Rena. So I'm very excited to see how those come out.
But yeah, I want to try this name again, just so I don't, like, upset the artist or his fans if they listen. But, like, it's not Lismer, what the hell? IJZER.
Isger.
Isger.
Idger.
Idger. But yeah, I don't know how to pronounce that, but yeah.
All right. So should we skip the next one?
What is the next one?
Your favorite D&D moment? Because
we can circle back because that could be a long one, so we'll circle back.
Okay, we'll circle back around. So the next question is from our resident kobold Venter. If one day you had somehow discovered a dragon, for references, a smart one that can talk like Draco or Smaug, not Toothless or Drogon intelligence, and it offered you a chance to go live with it, but you had to leave your current living situation, would you take the offer?
I'm assuming they're going to be living in a cave, in which case, no, because I like society's
You're like,
toys.
I need my internet?
Yes, I want my internet.
I mean, keep in mind, there's been plenty of examples and stuff that we've done in our episodes where the dragons live in, like, libraries or magically enchanted.
Unless they have magically enchanted internet, I'm out.
What if they just have, like, a dragon-sized house they live in that's, like, on a hill?
Okay, if that's the case, and it turns like to some...
Can I get internet?
What's the Wi-Fi password?
In that case, I'm all down.
Human crumch 123.
I was actually going to say humans are tasty, but not A-R-E. It's just the R.
The A in tasty is a 4.
Yeah. With an exclamation point.
Yeah. I probably would. There would be concerns for not my safety as in, like, they're gonna do stuff to me, but, like, safety as in, like, if they do live in a cave, it's like, you understand human bodies are very fragile and can't really survive the elements like that. So, like, assuming precautions are taken, perhaps I get to build a little log cabin just outside his cave or whatever, then yeah.
So for me, I'm gonna modify the question in the sense where it's an idealized version of a realistic dragon dwelling. So even if it were a cave, it's furnished and there's perhaps, like, like those
For you, it's basically you get to live in Angels of Scaly Wings world.
Yeah. And in that case, fuck yes. If it's a cave, but they have I can build like a little house inside the cave, kind of like how like
so like me with the log cabin outside.
No,
the cave.
not outside, but like those little plastic houses that parents buy for their kids. They're like little clubhouses. Something like that, but human size. Like, one room is fine.
You just live in a dragon doll house.
Yeah, a dragon doll house, essentially. I'd be 100% for that.
That's actually really cute. That should be like a comic series or something.
All right, next
I don't know if it's interesting enough for a book, so it's gotta be a comic series.
next question.
Yeah.
The next question is also from Venter. If you suddenly became a dragon, like in Lazy Scales, would you still try to exist in the life you currently have, or adjust to handle it as a dragon? Or go find a new place to settle, like a cave or something, and work from there?
Okay, I'm assuming like Lazy Scales also means you're the only one, not like half the population. Snap your fingers.
Yeah.
Done. Again, concerned for my safety. How are the humans going to react? But the short answer is, yeah, I would try to integrate. Like the cave could be like my summer home, or like I'm gonna go back to my roots. Dude, you were a human last week. Shut up. But but yeah, basically try to integrate. Assuming it wasn't like the government's gonna be like, it's a dragon and all our stories of dragons are them being dangerous man-eaters, so shoot on sight. Versus, or as much as I say in Lazy Skills that I would like to be studied by Crystal, the scientist, it's like I don't want to get disappeared to Area 51 either.
Yeah, that's always one of my fears whenever I get turned in, because I know they're gonna want to like fucking yank me off to somewhere.
So yeah, assuming none of that happens, then yes, integrate completely.
Yeah, I'm probably the same. Like I said, I can't live without my internet. I don't care what kind of dragon instinct I have. My need for the internet will always surpass it. So I'll try to integrate. Like I could probably go live in the barn in my lot and just kind of eat a cow every now and then.
Yeah.
I'd be set.
I was gonna say I would still try to like adopt dragon culture, because again I'm assuming like Lazy Skills I would have a little ghost dad screaming at me like, this is not how dragons do stuff. So it's like, yeah, I'd go live in the mountain during the summer, and it's like, I guess if I'm too big to fit in a house, then yeah, I would have a cave. And I think I could give up technology easier than Dilettante could. But by integrate, I guess I'm just specifying, unlike Bantam, I don't need to live in a little house. I would still try to interact with humans. I would try to do stuff in town if I could, maybe. It's like just not be ostracized, basically. Just because, like with the question with the ideal book, I like it better when the cultures kind of intermingle.
All right, so for me, I would definitely try to stay integrated with humanity. I'd immediately show myself off, and I'd immediately record a bunch of YouTube videos.
I would immediately open an OnlyFans account.
Yeah, I'd immediately open, like, whatever, and people would assume, wow, that's really good CG,
But whatever, they're still paying
But
you.
whatever, they're still paying me, and the more hardcore skeptics who think, oh my god, this is just CG, I would encourage them to ask me questions, and then I'd answer it, and they'd be like, how could he render a fucking CG thing like that? Like, hey, go knock over the couch, and I turn around and just slap over the couch, and they'd be like, yeah, there's no way he rendered that in the amount of time that he read that question, So I'd prove it, but I would try to expose myself to as much of the public as possible, so that way I can't be disappeared. But I would just try to carry on life as normal. I mean,
I like how all three of us concerned that, yeah, the government would make us disappear if we became a dragon.
That's one of the biggest things. Like there's another podcast I listened to, and they had an episode about dragons, and one of the people that they read was literally like, they were like, if you turn into a dragon, what would you do? And her response was essentially a 20-step process to avoid being captured by the government and experimented on, because that's what they would
like how
do.
you and I have talked like, all right, if I turn into a dragon, you've got to take videos and post me on social media, so like people need to know I exist before I suddenly don't exist.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't. It's a shame. It's one of the many reasons I hate humanity, is because their very first instinct would be bam, Area 51. All right, so the next question...
Immediately make yourself known to be sentient, so they give you rights.
Yeah. So the next question, I think I can just answer, and we can all just... so we can get past this one. The next question is by Comrade. Why dragons, other than, like, unicorns or griffins? And so the easiest response to this, I think, is that if you were to take 100 fantasy novels and then organize them by if they feature dragons, unicorns, or griffins... 95 of them would be dragons, 4 of them would be griffins, and 1 would be unicorns. It's just dragons are far more prolific in fantasy than griffins or unicorns.
Yeah, I fully have the intentions of eventually branching out into books that are centered around griffins and other
unicorns.
things. I'm trying to think of books that I know exist already, and I don't know any unicorn main character books.
Well, the problem is that any book that has a unicorn main character, and I'm sorry if anyone really loves unicorns, but they're probably going to be romance novels directed at 30-year-old women.
Okay, just imagine one of those, those romance novels with the shirtless Fabio on the cover, except it's just a unicorn.
Yeah. It's a unicorn that turned into a human to find true love.
No, so shapeshifting in a romance novel is this coward's way.
Yeah, I know, but the idea being is that like unicorns are not
very,
well, they're as rare in fantasy as they're supposedly in.
I thought you were gonna say they're very prissy, girly, fancy.
Well, they kind of are. I've yet to see like a badass unicorn except for Kieran in Monster Hunter.
The problem is once you try, if you take a unicorn and you badass it too much, you just get a nightmare.
Yeah. Do you have
like the creature nightmare?
Yeah. Do you have any input, Dilettante? That was kind of just a softball question. So
well, I can't really go into too much detail because this is family friendly Christian podcast, so I will pass.
Oh, he just prefers dragon dick.
Yes.
But yeah, like I have on my shelf right now some books where the griffins are the main character, and I've read before some where the main character are like cat-like aliens. Like I imagine them as Hrothgar from Final Fantasy, honestly, just with quills on their back. But point is, fully intent on branching out. We're just starting with dragons because, like Phantom said, they are the most popular amongst the non-human point of views. And if you took you made a pile of dragon fans, and you made a pile of griffin fans, and a pile of alien fans or whatever, the dragon fan pile would be bigger. And so just try to be relevant to the most number of people to start out.
Yeah.
And then branch out later.
Yeah. All right, so the next question is from Din Din. He says he's going to ask a more generic question. What unpopular opinion do you guys have on dragons?
Oh, I've got so many.
This could be a long one too.
Do you want to circle back?
Let's save that one to the end because I've got some thoughts.
Okay. All right. So the next question from Din Din is for the listeners that are not on this server, how did you guys meet?
All right, Bantam, do you want to take this?
All right. I mean, I'm the linchpin. I'm the one who introduced the two of you. So
yeah, Bantam met me, and then 5 years later I met Dilettante. So I have dibs by seniority.
Yes, whatever. So I had a friend who shall remain nameless, and one day he messaged me and he was just like, "Hey, I'm going to introduce you to a friend of mine," and I was like, "Okay." And he forcibly introduced me to Ray, and then shortly after was like, "Yep, good luck with him. I'm out." And he just essentially dropped this little dragon in a box on my doorstep. And I was like, okay. And, I was really uncomfortable with the situation, but I
got friend dumped.
He got friend dumped on me. And I was like, all right, whatever. And so I started talking to Ray, and then there was one day where I guess Ray had a really bad day, and he asked to call me. And so he called me on the phone, and we talked for 2-3 hours. And
that's not how I remember it.
Yeah, I remember exactly where I was standing.
I'm not a high school girl that's like, I need to call you. I'm the millennial that's like, please text. I don't want to call.
No, you called me. So, and you called me.
I'm pretty sure.
You called me because you wanted to... Listen, I remember. I was on my way to work, and it was nighttime, and I was walking down my grandmother's street, and you called me, and I was so excited. At any rate, and so... I had been friends with Ray for years and years after that. And then I met Dilettante because I basically had gotten out of a bunch of rough relationships, and I was kind of just done with it. And then one day I get a note from Dilettante on a website. And the note basically says, "Hey, do you want to talk?" And...
Oh, we'll do URP?
Oh, I didn't want to say roleplay, but yeah. And and so I ignored it. Or no, I sent back, and I actually checked. I sent back one of the most arms folded, bitchy, I don't care responses to him, because I was just like, yeah, I ain't gonna deal with this, right?
I can't believe Dilettante hit you with the high DURP.
He did.
Listen, I was getting out of a bad relationship myself at the time.
Note, no subject. Hey.
Yeah. And so I ignored the note. And then a week or...
As you should with those kind of
and
notes.
so a week later, he messages me on Telegram. And I'm like, who the hell is this? And he's like, hey, I sent you a note a week back. I don't know if you got a chance to see it. And I was like,
oh my God.
And I was like, no, don't, Dilatan. You can defend yourself after. So I was like, yeah. And he goes, so, do you like playing games? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, how about Skyrim? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, do you like modding it? And I was like, yeah. He goes, well, I can help you mod it if you need any help. Have you ever heard of a program called TeamViewer? And I was like, holy shit, an Indian scammer. And so I was like, I was endlessly amused. And then I remember just like muting and archiving him. And I like, I think it was like a week later, he messaged me again. And I was just like, all right, you know what? I'm bored. Let's see where this goes. Because I honestly, I did not.
Listen, I'm surprised this worked out at all.
I was...
It's all about determination, baby.
It really was. And then we started talking, and I admit I first got into the conversation because I was just morbidly curious about where this was going to go. Because I was so sure it was a scammer. And I'm like, wow, they're getting sophisticated. They're going on to art websites, and they're signing up for Telegram accounts and shit. And so I just wanted to see where it went. And then I believe I was finally convinced that you were real when you wanted to call for the first time. And I was like, oh, he's definitely not a scammer. He's just very awkward. And, you know, because we had just started talking. And, I think it was probably 6 to 8 months after we started talking. He was just like, hey, do you want to date?
Oh, yeah, no, that was the most awkward conversation. My anxiety was never higher.
Not going to lie, kind of cringe.
My reaction was essentially, fuck it.
So romantic.
The thing is...
I was going to say so romantic.
The thing is that I had gotten out of so many bad relationships that I was just like, yeah, let's see if I can break my record. You know, like, let's see if I can get...
What an attitude. No, all right.
Listen, I didn't know anything about you at the time, and I was so sure that once you got to know the real me, you were gonna hate me, and I would just chalk it up to, yep, I'm undateable. And no, I mean, what, like 4 years later, we had our 4th anniversary a couple months ago, and
has it really been 4 years?
Yeah, it's been 4 years.
Yeah, it's been 4 years.
Ages visibly.
The Looper meme. But it's like once I started to get to know him and realize the problem was there was this huge buffer of this is definitely a scammer, or you know, just whatever. I didn't take you seriously because I didn't know you were a real person. I thought you were, and I'm sorry if this sounds racist, but I thought you were an Indian scammer because every question seemed to, and it actually became an inside joke because there was an actual point where for, I think like 2 straight weeks, Dilatan and I modded Skyrim, and I would give him, and so we didn't use TeamViewer, but we used a program called Parsec, which lets him take complete control of my computer. And I would just sit back in my chair watching my mouse move around as he fucked with shit. And I'd just be like, well, let your manager know you finally got me. And
that's been a running joke for the whole relationship. Yeah, it's great.
That the long con that he's like, oh, my manager will be so pleased I finally got this one.
It's like the meme where people are playing gay chicken and then it's like they suddenly have a kid together.
It's like, yeah, we adopted a kid, but I'm not going to lose. I swear to God.
All right, now let me defend myself.
No, hold on. First, I want to say, like, I'm at, because of how persistent Dilatan was. Like, that's a nice way of saying it. How persistent you were.
It's okay.
And how just dumped in his lap I was. I love the mental image of he just like opens the door and there's like me all sad in a little cardboard box because I got friend dumped. I was abandoned, and he takes me in. Whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, sometime later, there's another box with you in it, but you put the box there yourself and climbed in. You're like, hi, take me.
And I just went, and I keep opening the door, and I keep going, no. And I check the mail, and then I go, but then, like, 2-3 days later, I'm like, oh, come inside. It's going to rain tonight. All right.
Determination.
Diletante's turn to defend himself.
All right, so the whole team, he keeps getting this wrong. because he thinks it's funny. But listen, I didn't open up with going into TeamViewer. Our first conversation was actually about PS2 nostalgia. We had a nice long talk about Armored Core. I brought up Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank. We had a good time for our first Telegram message. It was a month later when I suggested doing Telegram, and he's like, yeah, sure. I forwarded the message to him. He responded with yep, and apparently, according to Bantam, that's his way of dropping the conversation entirely and not messing with it. But no, I was incredibly cringed in the notes, so I cannot defend myself on that one.
It was just you being awkward because we're all social awkward.
Yeah.
At the time, I was trying to help my ex not be homeless, and it was incredibly awkward, and that contributed to the awkwardness element.
The other thing is that Dilatan unknowingly did the perfect thing, which is persistence. Because after contacting me on, I think, 4 separate occasions where I basically just went, and ignored him, I finally was just like, all right, this guy's not going to go away. I may as well talk to him and let him get to know me so that he'll be chased away.
May as well.
And that is what, and yeah, so he was persistent, which is what it takes to get through to me, because I have very low tolerance to meeting new people, because like every new person where I was like, hey, I could be friends with this person. Like, I'm not going to name anybody, but there was one particular person who messaged me, and we got along really well for like the first week. And then he said that we actually should make a YouTube channel together. And I was like, oh, that could be fun. Yeah, sure. And he goes, yeah, so what we'll do is we'll just harass people and record it and like make fun of people and just ruin their lives. And I'm like,
okay.
Fuck you. And immediately blocked him. And like, I was like, we went from a week of like, wow, we're so alike, to, hey, I want to make a career out of ruining people's lives. And I'm like, okay, goodbye. All right. Next question.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the next question is from Asterian. I was wondering, how do you guys manage to... Oh, this is the good one. I was wondering, how do you guys manage to consume and enjoy so much media? At the end of the day, I find myself with so little free time or energy that I can't bring myself to open a book or watch a 2-hour movie. There's always the weekend, but that's usually the time I use for other hobbies and all non-university related errands. I know you guys listen to many audiobooks. I guess that helps. But how do you manage with movies and games? Dilatan?
That's literally Dilatan's mood.
Well, I'm mostly held at gunpoint by Ray to finish everything, so it's mostly motivation by fear at this point.
I have to keep checking in, like, at the 7-day mark, like, hey, have you started? No. 3-day mark, you started, right? I'm starting tomorrow. So then tomorrow I'm like, so?
I've started chapter 1, and then I finished the rest of the last minute. That's basically the routine I have. Is I try to save the last minute and make it as free as possible to just binge it on one go.
So then binge it on day 4 rather than day 13.
Yeah, but then I could do other things on day 4, whereas day 13 is kind of like mandatory. So I was like, I know I have to do it then, so might as well just leave it for then. I never understood. I never could get into the mentality of getting things done early. Because
then you don't have to do it later.
But, I mean, I could just do it later. See, that's the thing.
Slap you.
Slaps me nothing to me.
Oh, God. Ray?
I don't know. I feel like I should go last because you both think of me basically on the same side here.
So, all right, fine. I'll go next. Yeah. So I don't have any free time. I basically... I want to stress that this is more my fault than Ray's, and Ray's not being unfair. But there are a lot of times where I feel like I just need to say, hey, Ray, I'm going to just be alone today. Like, I need some me time. And he's like, okay. But aside from that, it's... To
continue the little dragon left on his doorstep analogy, I'm locked out of his room and I start just clawing at him. Like,
at the door, attention. Yeah.
Like when you have a cat that wants to come in.
Yeah. So, I I come home from work and I have like 6 to 7 hours of free time. Then I go to bed. Then I go to work. Here's one of the biggest factors for why I have the free time to do these things. My entire family lives in Massachusetts. I live in Utah. I have zero obligations besides sleep and work. So basically every minute that I'm not sleeping or working is essentially free time.
I don't know how to answer this question. Because it's like, I just do. I guess, I don't know. Again, like you said, audiobooks help, but like I've even read several, like, quote, paper ones. They've been either like literally paper or ebook. Like I read the entire first 6 Lazy Scales before I got you guys to even start the first one. So like I had time on my own to sit down and read those, and I've read a couple other ones that had like the Cat Aliens I read on paper before they got released onto audiobook. And then there are a couple others that I've point is I just have time. I don't know where it comes from. I just have it.
Yeah, Ray tends to double dip on time because he'll be listening to audio, and I do the same. We'll be listening to audiobooks while we're at work.
See, I can't do that.
I'll watch a movie while playing a game that takes like 20% brain power. Like Civ is not that intensive. I can get being turn-based, it's fine. There are a couple of card games that have solo player modes that I also do, just like very brain-dead games, and I can watch a movie at the same time. So it's still my game time. I'm still relaxing that way, but I'm also consuming media.
Oh yeah, I can never sit and watch a movie just not doing anything. My hands have got to be busy.
Yeah, I've never been diagnosed, but I feel like it's an ADHD thing. It was like I can't do one task, I have to do 2.
Oh god, I remember the days when I only had one monitor. You guys teased me about me being primitive.
Oh yeah,
I didn't have the luxury.
Oh yeah,
watching a movie
and you can never go back now, right?
I can't. If one of the monitors dies, I am immediately driving across the state border to the nearest. Our regular Best Buy actually closed down, so the nearest one's like 4 hours away. But I'm going.
Yeah, I'm
going.
There was a solid year that we were trying to convince Dilatan to get a second monitor, and he's
like, "Why do I need one?"
And it's like, dude, just there's no words to describe. You just need the power.
There really isn't.
And then he got one, and he was just like, "Holy shit!"
Mind blown. But yeah, honestly, for me, games are the hardest thing to find time for, because if it's a game that I don't like the gameplay of, it's like, I don't want to do it.
So, Drakan.
Now you know how I feel about books.
Drakan.
Yeah, now you know how we feel about books.
I get that. But you guys need to understand that out of all the content, like 80% of it's going to be books. Just because they're the easiest thing to kind of pump out when you're an indie, and Dragons aren't mainstream enough for the big corporations to care.
All right, so we're done with that one?
I guess, yeah. I guess the answer is I just have time. I don't know where it comes from, and the other two don't have time, and they have to struggle for it.
I run my own business.
Yeah, he does. All right, and the next question is from Venter. What do you guys think of the dragon lore from D&D that scale color determines what each dragon breathes and their exact personality?
That is a mild hint of racism, to be honest. Like, that does have some racist undertones, that color determines personality. So,
boy, do I got news for you.
Yeah, didn't it just get retconned that that's not the case anymore?
They're retconning the shit out of it.
I wonder why. I could only imagine why.
Well, like, there's some things, and I'm including D&D as well as, like, this news also just happened to Final Fantasy XIV. In Final Fantasy XIV, they had beast tribe races, and they are going to change that to not call them beast tribes, because they are sentient and, intelligent beings. So they're just going to call them tribe quests, I think,
or something like that. They're taking the beast out because beast is apparently derogatory.
Yeah, and it's like, you know what? Other people may scream, "Oh my god!"
I feel like beast is fair because we don't have a word that humans don't have a word that means non-human. That rolls off the tongue. So I think beast is okay.
But point being is, like, D&D is always supposed to be, like, I never agreed with rigid rules and structure for D&D. Like, dice rolls in combat, yes, that needs to be rigid. But like, monsters, like, who's to say that you can't find a friendly beholder? Like, I mean, it's even established in its own lore that in Baldur's Gate there is a beholder that runs an entire criminal syndicate.
It's still considered evil because it's a criminal syndicate.
But I remember reading the monster manuals where beholders were just totally fucking evil. Like, the moment they saw a person, they would just evaporate them. And it's like, okay. Yeah, I just think that D&D needs to give you all the pieces and let a DM decide how those pieces fit together. And D&D should not... one of the biggest things I actually saw, in fact, I think it was discussed on this Discord, was Kenkus. That every DM basically just goes, you know what, Kenkus can speak common, I don't give a shit. Because, like, why would you limit an entire race that someone wants to play by forcing them to pantomime or mimic other people at the table? And it's like, yeah, if you want to do that, go for it. But it shouldn't be the default.
The talking never really comes into it in the circles that I'm in. My circles, like, I'm so social. I have one D&D group I play with that isn't you guys, so, like, there's that circle. But I also spend time on some of the Reddits. The talking's not really much an issue, because you can just hand wave away, oh yeah, you've heard enough words by now, it's fine. The problem that I've heard people on Reddit complain about is players will use this as an excuse to get a soundboard and just spam sound effects the entire game. And the problem my DM had with it is apparently in the lore of the Kenku, it's not so much that they can't talk, but it says they cannot have original thoughts. Every thought they have to have seen somewhere before. And that's what's limiting.
Yeah.
It's like
That's
they just can't
bullshit.
think. I guess it is super bullshit. Also, house rule Kenku are only like 3 feet tall.
They're
the kobolds of birds.
That's the other thing. There's Raven folk, Kenku, and then there was another one, wasn't there? Aarakocra. And it's like
there's also I think they're just called the Owlkin that Strixhaven added.
Yeah. And they're all like around 5'5" to 6'5", and it's like, no, Kenku are small and adorable, and they're basically bird kobolds.
Mm-hmm.
Done. I don't care what the books say. Kenku are bird kobolds.
Shit, what was the question? Oh, the dragon scales. Tangent! Yeah. So yeah, in the monster manual, the old monster manuals from previous editions always like, this equals this alignment. Like, they're always chaotic evil, they're always lawful evil, they're always chaotic good. They're changing it to where it now says usually. So they're giving you room to veer off course.
Yeah.
To change slightly. Which I love, because I love the idea of... Whatever. I'm not going to get into that. So scale color determining the personality is stupid. Right? Personality is completely a nurture thing.
Yeah.
It's not a nature thing. And to say it's nature, like, oh, you got born as a Red Skull Dragon, so you have to be... I think it's proud, brash, and arrogant. It's like, that limits creativity so much as far as the game is concerned, and it just seems stupid as far as a lore.
Yeah, and it also
goes.
Makes no sense. I mean, look at Diletan.
Yeah.
He's not...
I'm a complete wuss.
He's not proud, brash, or arrogant.
Yeah, he'd be a white dragon in personality.
However...
He doesn't know enough to know if that's an insult or not.
I'm gonna grab a little rag and I'm gonna start rubbing at one of your scales, Ray, and see if you're actually a red dragon.
I don't think I'm arrogant.
You're not all the time, but there are times.
Also, I don't think I'm very proud. I'm very self-deprecating, actually.
Oh, maybe. All right.
But yeah. However, the scale clearly determining your breath weapon, yeah, that's completely fine. It kind of makes sense from an evolutionary standpoint too. Like the dragons that live up in the, I guess this is more of a biome theme. The dragons that live in the Arctic would be white. Like, makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blue dragons being the desert dragons is a little weird as far as color goes, but they're always, even though they live in the desert, they're always just, they're the flyers. They fly the most, so blue makes sense because sky. The greens live in forests and jungles, and blacks in marshes. You know, it makes sense. Colors, biome, whatever. Breath weapon is just, it doesn't matter. It's a magical thing that the creators in the beginning just decided, and we just stuck with it, and there's no reason not to, because they're always described as magical in these universes anyway. However, it just feels weird that a dragon that hunts in the Arctic would have an ice breath. That wouldn't be really effective against the things it's hunting.
Yeah. All right, how about you, Diletan? Do you have any closing thoughts?
No, aside from it just being very obviously racist, nothing.
Yeah.
You think that's racist? Wait till you see the Drow and the people from Chort. I forget what their tribe is called. Oh, and there's also the ones that were a very, very bad allegory for, I think, the Romanians.
Yeah, it's the same thing with like old Star Trek.
Old D&D is very racist.
Well, yeah.
Star Trek I wouldn't call racist. I call it simplistic. They give an entire species like one trait and make it its whole identity.
Yeah, and the Ferengi were Jews. The entire point to the Ferengi was to make fun of Jews. That's why they toned that down. Star Trek was racist as shit.
Oh my god, I never actually connected that. The fucking nose and ears. Oh my god.
Yeah.
All
People
right,
have complained about that. My biggest complaint with any sci-fi thing like Star Trek or Star Wars is the planets are all one giant biome, which is not how it works.
Yeah, that's true.
This is the jungle world. This is the desert world. This is the ice world. Okay, ice world maybe, because you're just far away from the sun, but still, you see my point.
Yeah, I see your point. All right, next question is from Zana. If you could be any animal other than a dragon, what would you be?
They even have just a city world. It's called Coruscant. It's like, come on, you can't even...
Okay, Ecumenopolises are legit. Like, if you're going to encase the entire planet in a city, yeah, there'd probably be little patches of forest, but...
It's not really legit, because you wouldn't be able to feed that population.
Well, yeah, because by then they've mastered... if you can
also,
cover...
air quality at that point.
Whatever. All right,
okay,
we're beyond that.
Hold on. Now, biomes grow and shrink. It's possible for one of them to outgrow the others.
That is true.
So,
but to the extent that Star Wars does it?
Give a planet enough time, yes.
If you could be any animal other than a dragon...
Enough time, this was a long time ago. This is less time than we've had on our world here.
You don't know how long those planets have been around.
Couple thousand years. It's also flat.
They're brand new. It's flat.
It's a disc. I want to move to the other side of the disc.
I want to live on a Taurus.
Yeah. I want to live in a ring world. The concept of just...
Look up, see ground.
Yeah, like that was so fucking cool to me. Well, you wouldn't look up, see ground. You'd look up, see the sun.
It depends on the diameter of the ring.
Well, you'd look up and see the sun, because typically...
Well... Okay, Stellaris, the rings were around the star, but like in Halo, the rings were just kind of
floating at. Well, yeah. So, all right, I like the Halo version. Anyway, we're beyond this question. If you could be any other animal other than a dragon, what would you be? Dilettante.
I want you guys to guess what my answer is going to be.
Okay. Chicken.
No.
But you love chickens.
Not that much.
Gator.
Because he's in Florida?
Because he's in Florida. We each
gecko.
get 3 chances, yeah.
Right.
Gecko.
Nope.
No? No gecko? We've run through our list of animals we know Dilettante knows about.
This includes fantasy. I'm assuming this question includes fantasy animals, too.
Minotaur.
Nope.
That's not an animal, that's a person.
It's a...
No, it's an animal. You guys calm down.
It's both.
We're reading too much into the exact wording of these questions.
Yeah. All right, one more guess for you, Ray.
The fact that you specify fantasy means it is fantasy.
Yeah, that's
Kobold.
your hints. You say kobold?
Kobold.
That's a negativo, good sir.
Shit, I was going to guess
actually
kobold.
a griffin.
I didn't get my last guess. Griffin?
No.
Fuck you.
It's actually a T-Rex. None of you said that. I'm actually upset about that.
Right.
Oh, right, because T-Rexes don't exist. They're fantasy creatures, right? I see the connection.
Well, no, my answer actually is a griffin. If I wasn't fantasized on dragons, griffins would probably be the next thing.
I've noticed a lot of dragon griffin overlap in like communities and content and whatever.
Well, because griffins are just bird versions of dragons.
Like even like Red Isaac just draws a lot of dragons and griffins.
Yeah,
a lot of times together.
Yeah. All right, so we'll keep that format. So Ray, we will each have 3 guesses.
Are we guessing mine?
Yeah, we're guessing yours.
Okay, hold on. Give me a second to think.
I'm gonna rapid fire mine.
It's weird because I can never be simple. It's like I have 2 answers. One is dependent on if do I get to keep my intelligence or am I adopting the intelligence of the animal?
Oh my god!
You're overthinking it, man.
Your body is just turning into that. There you go. You
physical
keep
only.
Everything about your ego and it stays. It's just bam. You are now this thing.
Okay. Then I have 1.5 answers.
All right.
If you guess either one, I'll explain why I consider 1.5 answers.
Okay. All right, Diletan, go. Guess.
Because they're similar but like different fundamental. It's weird. Yeah.
Okay, snake?
I thought you said steak for a second. I thought you did too.
You're a medium steak. That's my answer.
Snake is correct. And I say 1.5 because something like a coatl is like, that's part snake, but it's also part dragon. So does that get to count? She says other than the dragon.
No.
So it's like,
coatl has typically always been seen as a dragon, so.
Yeah, let's assume all dragon-like, or all variations of dragons are off the table.
Yeah, but some people.
The thing is, a coatl is literally just a feathered snake. It's not.
A lot of people say the coatl would be a snake more than a dragon, but if the chart of dragon body shapes that we have accepted has coatl on there, I think. No, amphitheater. No, it doesn't, because it would just say coatl would fall under amphitheater. So no, I guess coatl would be valid, but yeah, snake/coatl.
Yeah, I got it right.
All right,
first try.
That's assuming I keep my intelligence and ego and everything that you said, because...
Ego, superego, and id.
Because real snakes are pretty dumb. I want to be that dumb.
All right. So now you guys guess mine.
Snake.
No.
Can I guess a group rather than a specific?
Sure.
Monkey/primate of some kind.
No.
No. I want to go again because it's stupidly obvious. It's just bird.
Diletan, what were you gonna say?
It was gonna be. I didn't have anything past snake. That was like my go-to number 1 trump card. So I'm out.
Snake would be accurate because at that point I'd want to be a naga.
You'd rather that than something full bird like a kenku or Arakakra?
Okay, you know what? Fuck it.
If you said minotaur counts as animal, then kenku would too.
Yeah, that's true.
By the wording of this question,
I would rather be either a kobold or a kenku. So yeah, I ruined my own guessing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give credit to both of you.
Yay!
All right. So the next question is from Venter. Another question is, I do not think the hosts will be getting into the garbage book series that is Dragon Friend.
Big oof, but big agree.
Do you think music can tame a dragon? Or like in Dragon Friend, bring it back from being feral to sentient again?
Okay, so I read Dragon Friend, so I'll give you guys a really, really quick synopsis, okay? The main character is actually a human female, and it's like this weird, like, there's a coup, because she's a princess and there's a coup, so they try to kill her. She falls off the boat, doesn't die, gets rescued by something called a dragonling, I think, which is basically, you know those teeny tiny dragons from How to Train Your Dragon that are kind of just everywhere like seagulls and being annoying in the later movies?
Yeah.
It's basically like that, but smart and kind of like arrogant like dragons are. His name is Flicker. So then they become a duo, and then eventually she finds an actual dragon called Grandian. I guess spoilers for Dragon Friend. Skip forward like a minute or two or something. I don't know. She initially finds him when he's buried underground because like there was a rock slide or something, or he was trapped there by a villain or something. He's trapped underground and he's going crazy. He's going feral because like a mixture of like hunger and being trapped in the dark is like kind of destroying his senses. It was pretty weird, but she ends up calming him down by singing to him, I believe. And I think there's a couple of other instances in the future where he's going crazy through like either battle lust or magic he's just losing himself somehow. And she tends to calm him down through music and singing or whatever. And the reason we call it a garbage book series is because of stuff like that. And also because the scale in that series is so disgusting. Like you have the tiny dragons like Flicker, and then you have the normal dragons like Randian. But then you have apparently all the islands they live on are just massive dragons, and there's on the backs of massive dragons that are floating around in a sea of clouds that are toxic for humans to breathe. So they're all like sky islands, but still, it's like when you get dragons that big, everything just falls apart.
I love that. Love those. What?
And then the super spoiler for like the 4th or 5th book in the series.
The planet's a dragon.
No, the big evil that shows up that they have to unite against is a dragon that's like the size of like a comet or a falling star or a meteor or something, because that's how it gets to their world. And oh my god, it's just so stupid. There's a scene actually in one of the later books too where they go inside one of the island dragons to do something. I don't remember what, but they travel through its arteries.
Fucking magic school bus.
Yeah.
There are no planets. There are only dragons.
Yeah. So, point of the question: music, soothing the savage beast.
Okay, so you had me, you had me wanting to defend the book up until Comet Dragon, because
the other great sin of the book. So again, more spoilers. Keep skipping ahead, people. It starts as a human dragon romance. Grandian and the girl Hualiema fall in love, and eventually Hualiema, fucking names, turns into a dragon. Hooray, right? But then she ends up turning back to human. Turns out that she can shapeshift between the two, no problem. And then a book and a half later, Grandian turns into a human.
So they went the wrong way.
And that's what once he turned into a human, I closed the book, put it down, and did not finish the series. That is literally where I stopped.
I was going to defend the book up until the comet-sized dragon and going inside dragon's arteries and shit, but because specifically the part where you said that he was buried underground and he was trapped in the dark and losing his that's what solitary confinement will do to a person. It'll make them go insane. And can you
which is fine with how he went insane. The question is the music soothing.
Yes, if you lived in darkness and silence for years and years and years, and then all of a sudden you heard someone singing, even badly, you would focus on that, and you would.
I'm pretty sure this was just weeks at the most.
Oh well, even still, usually 48 to 72 hours is enough for a human being to go insane.
I don't remember how they did the dragon diet, considering how big they could get, but he was definitely like he survived, but he was starving. So I don't know if that in universe was days, weeks, and possibly months, but it was not years, because you see Grandian flying around the island, and Hualiema is not supposed to be there because it's like a dragon sacred island, so it can't get spotted. But point is, you saw him flying around just within the time span of the first book still, so it couldn't have been that long.
All right, so we skipping the next question, saving it for last?
Dilettante, did he answer the music soothing?
I was going to say, I thought only you were going to answer because we haven't read that book.
I have seen a movie with that same premise now. I think it's called Flight of Dragons.
Oh my god.
You know what I'm talking about?
Dragons fly through hydrogen?
Yeah, they're basically just giant lizard balloons.
Lizard blimps.
And the ending of the movie, spoilers, they're all getting ready to fight it, and then like the one good dragon after all the other dragons are like fucking hypnotized or controlled by some weird evil lizard. It's like, listen, little dog, I need you to play your flute. That'll soothe them all. And he does, and all of them just go straight to sleep and fall out of the sky. It's so ridiculous. But could music soothe? I mean, music can soothe anybody. It's all about personal preference. Now, if you wanted to soothe me, just turn on some AC/DC. I will just start banging my head and forget what the fuck I was doing.
The music that soothes me is usually really violent and kind of vile rap songs. It's how I let my anger out. But I don't like magical soothing in the sense like play the flute and they all go to sleep, which is less soothing, more putting to sleep. But like magical soothing, like a bard singing a song that kind of borderline hypnotizes people. Don't really like that because, again, really, really damn close to mind control. It's a subversion of will, even if it's just forcing you to fall asleep when you don't want to fall asleep, right? So I don't like that flavor. But like the like Dilettante said, the music can just soothe people. So I guess it really depends on the circumstances.
Yeah.
But generally no, because as far as tropes go, it's a really dumb trope, and as far as magical compulsions go, it's too close to mind control, and I don't like it.
Yeah. All right. How do you feel? The next question is from Asterion. How do you feel about the cancellation of the game Scalebound?
What do you mean cancellation? Like, I have it here. It's on my shelf. I've played it.
Yeah, me and Banton played it last week.
Well, we're actually going to play it after the podcast. I just need to get to level 64.
How'd you get that? I'm only level 50. What the fuck?
Well, I do a little bit of grinding when you're not around.
You never do a little bit of grinding, my dude.
The,
You
the
always
problem
spend
is
it for
he'll play
days.
with us, and then we'll stop playing because it's time for bed, and he's like, I'm gonna keep playing
I'm
by
gonna
myself.
keep playing by myself. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I unlocked the mecha cosmetic for my dragon, and so I've been having a lot of fun.
Where's the cosmetic?
Well, just so you remember the.
Oh wait, hold on, you guys. I just looked it up. We're thinking of the wrong reality.
Oh, this. Oh my God! This reality canceled it.
They don't have it here.
Holy shit! Oh my God! Oh, you poor. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Apparently, it was canceled just like a couple months before it got released in the other reality. So,
yeah. I mean, the game was like pretty much done when it.
Pretty much.
God damn.
You know,
don't worry, guys. You're not missing much. It's only okay.
Yeah, it's not like the greatest selling game of all time.
I didn't win Game of the Year.
No, it's 3 years in a row.
Okay, but no, it sucks that this reality doesn't get it. Okay. It's the dumbest decision ever, and the fact that they hold on to the copyright is both infuriating and kind of like copium. Like maybe they're gonna release it because they keep holding on to the copyright.
So here's the current news regarding Scalebound in this reality. Is the guy who's basically the project lead, like the big head honcho of the game. He does not want to give up on the game. They still have the game. And he apparently has been bugging Phil Spencer of Microsoft, which is, basically Microsoft's PR head, trying desperately to get some light shine back on Scalebound, because Microsoft still does hold the rights to it. And, all right, so just addressing...
So, I don't understand what the problem is, though, because, even if they release it with no advertisement, it's just release it and what happens.
Yeah.
Right?
The work's already done. Pretty much.
I mean, I'm assuming, I think that's what I heard, but maybe it wasn't, and there would actually still be a lot of money sunk into it, and they're just cutting losses. We'd rather not. Maybe they were only 20% of the way done with it, and we just think they were close to being done.
No, I mean, granted, if that's, you have to take his word for it, but it was close to 75 to 80% done.
If he's trying to make his case, he might be over-exaggerating the numbers, trying to get people on his side, though. So maybe it was slightly less than halfway done. But even then, I don't know. It feels like it's such an easy just finish it and release. But I don't know how expensive this stuff is, so who knows. But yes, it sucks. Copium, one day it'll come out somehow. Eventually they'll relinquish hold on the copyright, and someone else can go to another studio and get it finished, or they'll be like, if we're going to keep spending money on this copyright, you might as well release it. Fingers crossed, right?
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Okay, next question.
Next question is from Treesenix.
It's quote the final question because he wrote it a couple hours before. Yeah. But because of circling back around, it's not going to be final, but yeah.
So how do you guys feel having your anniversary episode?
I feel tired.
Yeah. Dilettante's always tired, and I hate it.
Well, that's
what you get.
It's like you have a bit more life for the show.
We're doing the best we can.
This drag me out of bed for every recording. What did you expect was going to happen?
Yeah, we can't completely destroy his schedule. Just so it's the unfortunate reality. We just have to deal with it.
He could just wake up better.
I'll get right on that.
Have you tried not being tired?
Oh, that's what I was forgetting.
That Scorpio meme from Simpsons. God, I'm so stupid.
Of course.
Why didn't I think of that?
He was such a good character. What the fuck was the question? Oh, anniversary.
How do we feel about having an anniversary?
To be fair, I didn't think we'd make it this far.
Yeah, that was essentially how I was going to word it as well. Is I went into this thinking that it was going to basically just be a super passion project from Ray, and that it would eventually burn out.
The passion would burn out. The passion,
oh man, this is just too much. Let's just stop. And I'm not going to say that I was looking forward to that, because I wasn't. It was just, I thought it was inevitable that it was going to crash and burn. And it hasn't, and I'm actually kind of really proud of Ray, and I'm actually having a lot of fun with it.
Trisnix asks in the chat if Ray often burns out. It's like, it's not so much burnout as it is don't, like with my books, my book ideas, it's more don't get the motivation to stick with it because it's like, but video games.
That's what keeps me going, is the possibility of playing video games.
And like the other thing is also just my interests change very often. Like to use a video game analogy, it's like I'm playing Civ 6 right now because I just feel like it was some weird like pseudo city builder, right? All my victories right now are culture because I'm just building cities. But like in a week, maybe I'll be like, Civ is garbage. I'm gonna go play League of Legends because I want some super competitive game or something. And then like 3 weeks later, I'll be like, that game was dumb. I'm gonna go play a card game now. It's just my interests jump around so much that it's just a hard time sticking with one thing for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Short-lived passion.
And not to mention, every time we read a book, you always worry the podcast is going to die right then and there.
Yeah. Because like, Bantam's complaining about the podcast, and Dilettante just doesn't want to read at all, ever. And just
But reading, the fuck?
I'm pretty happy it's lasted this long, and I'm pretty sure it's going to last much longer.
Yeah. All right. Now we're going to circle back to the first question that we skipped. And that is from Comrade. Please, if you wish, explain your favorite D&D moment. Dilettante.
We'll let Ray take this one.
No, we should start with you because you have the least D&D. Bantam's got medium, I have the most D&D.
That is not fucking true, sir. I have the most D&D. I've been playing since I was 13 years old with my uncle for years and years and years.
I mean, but I played in high school too. Middle school.
Since you were 13 years old?
How old was I in middle school? I guess it would be 13. Yeah, around that. I don't... Ages. Human ages. Pfft. Whatever. Either way, Dilettante first, because he's got the least. The smallest pool to draw from.
Yeah, smallest pool's like 3 years, and it's a lot to pick from. I can't really decide.
I mean, I could go first, and I could be like, I like these 3 things that happened. And then you could go like, yeah, that one, +1.
Now, I'm trying to run through my memories, and most of it was just kind of a blur. Like, don't get me wrong, I had a good time
playing. Glad you have so much fun playing D&D that it just sticks in your memory forever. Some of my favorite moments were, where does magic come from, Eris?
Yeah.
The whole Agami finale, I enjoyed.
Dilettante had to hang up the call.
Which is like, I'm happy that I pulled on your heartstrings.
No, listen, that was a very low blow you did. My pet gecko of 9 years died 2 weeks prior to that event, and then our D&D pet basically died. You're planning on killing him.
It's not my fault, because that plan was made a year and a half before it actually happened.
Yeah, it really was. And yeah, just bad timing, but it also doesn't help that Ray made Agame like so likable, yeah.
Sadly, I don't think I have any favorite moments from our recent campaign. That's just how much I wasn't liking it by the end. It was very empty, it felt. Like, I enjoyed some of the characters I came up with, like the personality that I gave to... what the fuck was Dilettante's brother's name? Durandal, yeah. See, like, I liked him. I'm keeping Durandal as a character. Like, he exists forever now.
You know what? My entire, transformation into Zergatan, that will probably be my favorite.
That entire arc was good, because that's where Durandal came from. And, like, I just enjoyed him. And then, towards the end, like, Tyrannix, is that what we named him? Tyratus?
Tyratus, I think was his name. Yeah, like
Tyratus. I kind of enjoyed him, too. They were just fun characters to make and play.
Actually, you know what? My favorite moment was when everybody was in the temple. This was during where they were trying to get to my grandfather's tomb, and everybody was struggling with the puzzles, but me as like this mind-controlled Zergling with very low intelligence solved every single one of them before any of them.
I don't even know what puzzles I used.
It was one where they had reflections, and you were blocking the way, and you had to walk backwards. I remember that one. You had to mix and match something on the wall, and I got that one. Can't remember what the other ones were. But that one was probably the most fun I ever had.
Because you got to feel smart?
I got to feel smart.
I liked the part when I think you weren't there. It was just Bantam and the other player. and they just started feeding off each other's paranoia. It was just oh my god, self-perpetuating cycle of paranoia. It was beautiful. Do you remember that, Bantam? You're muted.
Yeah, I do.
Stop muting yourself, man.
I'm smoking.
Well, stop smoking.
No.
I'm trying to think of a favorite moment from like the other game that I actually get to play in with the DM that you guys don't know. It's like I'm getting like this current campaign with him. I'm getting to play a dragon, but it doesn't feel the way I would want it to feel. It's not fulfilling my power fantasy because first off, it's not a like true-born dragon. I had to start as a dragon boy, and I just got to slowly turn into one over the last 13 levels. And then the way he builds his world, there's a lot of really high-powered NPCs, which means I can't do the whole like I'm a dragon or I'm unstoppable thing, right? Like we all agreed to play an evil campaign, so I'm playing an evil dragon, and at one point we had to go. We had to go to an old abandoned dragon temple because we had to open a portal to the Feywild there because of some like debt that needs to be paid off. And when I found out that the reason the temple was abandoned is because the last dragon to live there was killed off / chased off by the village of catfolk that live nearby, I'm like, all right, we're gonna attack the catfolk and burn the city to the ground. And everyone agreed because we're all playing villains, and they're like, one of them is just violence for violence's sake, and the other one is tear down civilization. So whatever. So we attack it, and I get like 2-shot by an angel that the people summoned, and that itself was like meh, right? Summon an angel. It's like if a town of people can summon an angel, then why is there any like crime in the world, right? But then the fallout from that we went back to where my lair was. And then the like ruling queen of the land that I technically live on, because humanoids think they can claim everything, starts talking to me through magic, and like I'm in big trouble because I was like a political figurehead of some kind, and so that technically kind of is like an act of war. So now she's sending her armies against me, and it's just like I don't get to be all powerful because there's too many other powerful NPCs. I'm going to cut most of that story because that was a ramble. The point is, he has a persistent world that when your character finishes and retires like level 13, 14, 20, whatever, it gets to stay in that world. He kind of like adopts it, and like they have their goals and motivations and stuff still. So there's a lot of high-powered NPCs in that world that are just becoming an issue. I don't really get to make lasting marks on the world because people would logically like step in, and they're too powerful for current level party to deal with. So it's like, well, I don't get to really do anything fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, my turn?
Yeah.
My favorite of all, I've had a lot of D&D game favorite moments, but my absolute favorite moment has to be the very first time I can recall ever playing a dice-based pen and paper game. I used D&D. This wasn't D&D, it was BattleTech. But, it's still an RPG that uses dice and stat tracking. My uncle, who got me into D&D, wanted to basically teach me how to play games like this, and he started with BattleTech. And for those who know of BattleTech, you'll know some of the mech names that I use, but my uncle is a sore loser. He always wants to win. Even when he's trying to teach you how to play something, he has to win to teach you. And so my uncle was like, I'm going to teach you how to play this game. Here's your mech. And it was a 55-ton Kintaro. And of the weapons that I had, one of them I remember was the Gauss rifle, which is the most powerful weapon in the game. His mech was a 100-ton Clan Daishi Prime. Twice my weight, twice the quality of weapons, twice the amount of weapons. And so he's like, I'm just going to teach you how to, allocate damage to your mech. And I'm like, okay. I'm like fucking 12 years old. I'm over at my uncle's house with pizza and soda, and I'm having the time of my life. And so he does what's called an alpha strike, which is where you fire every single one of your guns all at the same time at one target and overheat your mech. He missed with everything. He didn't do any damage to me. And so he was like, okay, well, my mech shut down for the next turn, so you can shoot back at me. And I was like, all right. I moved 1 space forward, which is the minimum distance required to use my Gauss rifle, and I fired. And I rolled the dice, and I got a critical hit. And my uncle was like, okay. And then I rolled the location dice, and I rolled his head, which means I did critical damage to his head, which means I went through his outer armor and straight through the internal armor and blew his pilot out the back of his mech in a pink mist, instantly killing him and winning the game. And he was so angry. He sat there for like 30 seconds in complete fucking silence and then went, so yeah, that's how you play. And then he flicked the papers off the table and we went back to watching whatever movie or TV show we were watching.
It's worth mentioning that his uncle was very antagonistic. It was a DM versus the players, and the DM only wins if the players die.
Yeah, they're the only other, and this will be a short story. There was another time showing how antagonistic my uncle was, where we were actually at a convention, a gaming convention, and we were playing Call of Cthulhu, which was essentially the game Clue, but with Call of Cthulhu, flavors. And so we each got our characters assigned to us randomly. I got Colonel Mustard, and my uncle got Professor Plum. One of us was the murderer. We had to figure out who it was. It just so happened to be my uncle. And one of the other players at the table knew nothing about Call of Cthulhu, and when he found a piece of paper and read it out loud, he said the word Fatagan, so we all had to roll on the insanity table. What ended up happening is my character got kleptomania. My uncle's character got agoraphobia. And so we had to roleplay this out, and the DM was looking for this stuff, because winning the game didn't mean anything. At the end of every 4-hour game block at this convention, the best player at the table would get a ticket that was worth essentially $20 in the merch room. And so people were always vying for these tickets. And so my uncle had to roleplay it, which is, avoid wide open spaces or whatever And at one point, my uncle rolled a dice, whispered something to the DM. The DM went, uh-huh. And I looked at the DM, and the DM goes, roll search. I roll search, and I get, I think it was a 19 or a 20. And he goes, so he passes me a note saying that I saw Professor Plum sneaking out of the room while all the rest of us were in this room looking at it like some monster corpse or whatever. So I go out into the hall, and I confront him. And now he shoots me with the Derringer that every one of us were given, which hits me in the head and bounces off my skull because it's a Derringer. Still does some damage. But at the beginning of the game, each one of us were handed an envelope with our secret inventories. Every single one of us were given a Derringer, which only has one shot. I had a cane sword. So I pulled out my cane sword and I cut his head off. And I didn't cut his head all the way off. As the DM said, basically, I severed his head so bad that he tried to run, fell down the stairs, and broke his neck the rest of the way. His character was dead. Everyone else came running out and went, oh my god, what happened? What happened? The DM let my uncle come back as the constable to let us out of the mansion because, we figured it out kind of thing. And my uncle immediately tried to pin it on me and get me killed. And he rolled a crit fail on his persuasion check. And when I showed the evidence that I still had my loaded Derringer, because they said they heard a gunshot and then they heard a swing, so they knew that he shot first.
Because swords totally make swings.
Well, yeah. But essentially, not only did I kill my uncle and win the game, but then when he tried to turn it around and pin it on me, he failed, and I won a a moral victory for me. And I ended up getting the ticket at the end of the game. And I was so fucking happy. My uncle didn't speak to me for the rest of the day. I was like, it's just a game. And yeah, it's one of the reasons I don't play with my uncle anymore.
What a character.
Thing is that as a kid, I was just excited to be playing games with my uncle because he was my favorite uncle. But over the years, I realized, wow, my uncle was the shittiest fucking DM in the entire world.
I'm a good DM.
Ray is a very good DM. If I could distill it down to 20 of my favorite moments across every game I've ever played my whole life, 17 of them are with Ray.
Let's stroke my ego. What's your favorite D&D moment from my games?
My favorite moment from your game was the one where you let me power up the giant mech as the kobold army was closing in, and you managed to, I managed to roll dice enough to be able to activate this giant mech and then just come out stomping on an entire army of kobolds.
Yeah, see? High power fantasy. You get to live this. I wish I could do that as the dragon in my other game.
Yeah. For context, because, anyone how could you kill kobolds? The kobolds in this game were basically the...
I tried to base them off the Imperium from...
The Imperium of Man from Warhammer 40k. They were very, we're gonna fucking burn all the heretics, whatever, but we were inside one of their prison complex. It was like a mining complex. Research temple. And they found out that we snuck in there, and so they had a small army to kill us upon leaving. And we were warned, hey, there's an army massing outside. They're going to kill you the moment you step out those doors. And one of the things is in order to move around some of the machinery, they had a giant mech. It was like a golem. And so I climbed in, and I was like, I'm going to try to power it up. And Ray's like, no. And I was
I started thinking, so I like logic, and things have to make sense. So it's like, could he turn this on? He wouldn't really know how to pilot this thing, but the kobolds wouldn't use keys. They'd probably just have it be like a couple buttons or whatever. And, power buttons are usually displayed pretty prominently, if only so you don't accidentally hit it and turn it off when you're piloting stuff. So I made him roll, and he got semi-decently high, like a 17 or whatever. I'm like, fine, you managed to turn it on, but let's see if you can actually get it to work, to walk. And then he rolled higher, and it's like, okay, sure.
And granted, I don't think I was able to use half the weapons. In fact, I don't think I was able to use any weapons.
No, I said through trial and error, you can kind of stumble forward and you can use some of the weapons, but there's still a lot of stuff you don't know what it does.
Yeah, and so I don't think we ended up using any of the weapons, but essentially all I remember was stomping out the giant front doors and the kobold army going, oh shit! And we just started stomping on kobolds and basically just trying to get away. And we managed to do it, and I was, and the funny thing is because Diletan ran a game, and my favorite moment from that was when he drew out this intricate layout of this military base, and there were mechs.
I spent 3 hours.
He spent 3 hours making this map, and I was like, I'm going to climb into one of the mechs, and he's like, all right. And I rolled high, got the mech working, immediately turned around and destroyed the other mechs so that they wouldn't...
Diletan's campaign was based off Command & Conquer Tiberian Sun, so that was the tech level we were playing with. I was playing as a synthetic doggo that worked with the basically the Brotherhood, which is the complex we snuck into later. But I think my backstory was I was built by the screen and then repurposed by the Nod, and during the campaign I unlocked some of those memories, and so I was starting to turn against the Brotherhood. So when Bantam is trying to sneak into the mech, Diletan's like, you know how to turn it on, and I'm like, but I do, and I would tell him.
Yeah,
that's right.
I was a high tech piece of equipment from the Brotherhood, so I knew how to do all their stuff because I had the clearance, being one of their secret weapons or whatever. And I'm turning against them now, so it's like, yeah, sure, I tell him.
And so Diletan's like, all right, so the mech turns on. So the first thing is there were 4 mechs total, and they were all powered down in the middle of the base. So I immediately destroyed the other mechs so that none of the soldiers could contest me. And then just 20 turns of moving around the base, blowing everything up, stomping on soldiers, fucking firing missiles and Gatling guns and stuff. And I was having the time of my life just watching him erase buildings off of this map that he built.
3 hours.
3 hours. And it was so fucking great. Because then when I was like, okay, yeah, there's no more buildings left, I'm going to leave and I think Ray's character was in the cockpit or on my mech somewhere or something. And it was just so great. So I mean, that shows you how much I love mechs. As much as Ray.
It also just shows how much the most fun in D&D is when you get to be unstoppable.
Yes.
I enjoy the struggle. I like Dark Souls level of difficulty, but every now and then you gotta be unstoppable.
There was also that time, Ray, when we were playing D&D at your family's house, and I was playing a lizard man of some kind with a claymore. And I was up in a tree, and there was a zombie T-Rex underneath us.
Yep.
And
he wanted to do a plunge attack, and I rolled, all right, well, we'll basically say it's fall damage, So it depends on how high you are. If you hit, I will apply the fall damage to the creature you're attacking. If you miss, the fall damage is going on you because you're hitting the floor.
And he says the only way you'll avoid the fall damage is if you roll a nat 20.
No, I didn't say
Yeah, well, because I rolled a nat 20. I don't recall taking damage for
it was just... No, you didn't, because the point is you hit. So, like, you were, like, 30 feet above the T-Rex. So I was like, all right, if you hit, I will add 3d6 to your damage roll for the T-Rex because the fall damage transferring over. But if you miss, I'm saying the T-Rex is 20 feet high, so you're going to take 50 feet of fall damage. But then because you crit, and the reason why the crit's important is because it turned the 3d6 fall damage into 6d6. Because it doubles all the damage.
Plus the damage to my sword anyway, which I think is, 1d10?
No, it was a two-handed weapon
so
because you were playing a barbarian. So no, it would have been another 2d6 for that. So you got to roll a total of 10d6 damage.
10d6.
Listen to these nerds.
It was so good. It was one of the, and the thing was that because most of our D&D these days has been with people in different countries or different states.
I think the homebrew race you're playing as let you like add a bonus die either on crits or just once per day you could, and you just threw that on there, so you got to roll even more dice, because it's doubling everything.
Yeah, but that was one of the few games where it was a bunch of people sitting around at a real table, like all in person, because most of our games we play with people from other states, so we all do it through, tabletop...
Or other countries.
Tabletop Simulator, or lately The Forge. But point being is that there is something magical about rolling a dice on an actual hard table, seeing a 20 and having everyone go, oh, and it was the best. I rode that high for days.
I guess one of my favorite moments on my Tuesday game, I was playing a paladin fighter bard. I don't think I was bard at this point, so it was just paladin fighter.
What a min-maxing piece of shit. Oh, sorry.
Dude, okay, the whole idea was that I wanted to eventually one-shot something. I was going for, I'm going to crit fish, which is why I need extra attack. And my fighter subtype was battle master, so I could add a die 8 onto anything when I felt like it, when I got the crit. And then the paladin was for the smite. And I just wanted dice. I wanted to crit, and I wanted to one-shot something because the in-game flavor was I was playing a samurai, because it was an Eastern-inspired world, so even though I wasn't a samurai subclass, I was playing a samurai with the outfit. And my favorite thing about samurai is the Iaijutsu, the art of the quick draw. The single slash reshoots the weapon, and they're dead, right? So I wanted one dice roll to end the thing. So we were going adventuring. We went and found the dragon we were looking for, and we were going to kill the dragon. This DM, even though he doesn't like high power fantasy stuff, he uses a lot of homebrew. Some of the homebrew he makes himself, the other he gets from other people. But he wanted to play with the strongholds and fortresses homebrew, which lets the players build a stronghold, a castle, and they put buildings in it and whatever. And the buildings you put in it give you special abilities. Like if the wizard builds a wizard tower, he gets to do certain things. As a fighter, if I had an armory, I could make it to where the attacks granted from my action surge automatically crit, and I can do that once a week. So I attack the dragon twice, just normal hits. Then I action surge, get 2 automatic crits, and I dump everything. I dump all my superiority dice and all my spell slots into smiting, because guaranteed automatically crit. And so I think I rolled a total, it was like 14 die 8 plus 12 die 6 or something like that by the time I was done. And I did I actually one-shot the dragon.
Nice.
Of course, then the DM had to resurrected with nope, there was a phase 2. Because he didn't want his boss fight to be done with in one round.
Yeah.
Which is dude, just let me be powerful. But yeah.
All right.
You know what my least favorite D&D moment is?
What?
Betrayal at Snake Temple.
Is that the one where I turned against the party?
Yeah, that's what betrayal means.
Well, okay. You weren't there.
The one with the sister.
Yeah. So we just a quick thing on that. We were Dilettante.
No, you don't need to touch on it.
No, I'm gonna, because Dilettante was running the game. It was a pirate adventure, and
I I got to play a sea serpent.
He got to play a sea serpent, and
who could control the weather.
Yeah. And
which is legal because I was playing sorcerer and it was my lightning spell. Sorry, I just have to point that.
Long story short, we get to the end of the campaign, and I get contact. I don't remember how I got into contact with the creature. I think we were looking for it. It was basically a gigantic sea serpent, god, monster, whatever.
No, what happened was you landed on the island first. You met a Naga. You immediately befriended
a Naga,
the Naga,
right?
And
the Naga
took you to Super Naga.
Yep, the Naga basically was like, we're going to kill you. And I'm like, wait, don't. And he's like, well, unless we're going to sacrifice you to our god, unless you have a better idea. And I was like, yeah, I have a better idea. It's the rest of my party, not me. And he's like, oh, okay, just bring them here. And I was like, okay. And then when the rest of the party landed, I was like, this way, guys. And I went in first.
He led us to the cave with the sleeping god, basically.
Yeah, and Ray
and
was
I
like...
survived because I saw that thing. I was like, nope. I noped right out.
Yeah, Ray...
And because, like, in character, like, it's what my character would do, right? Usually it's a very shit excuse, but I actually use that excuse very well. My character was very full of himself, very like, hey, we're better than you two legs. I was captured in, like, illegal pet trade kind of deal, like black market, and so, like, sailed halfway around the world from my home, so I didn't know how to get home. And so the deal was, I'll help you guys, but then you'll help me get home. So when I go in there and I see this thing, I'm like, all right, I'm all about my self-preservation. I see this thing that's, like, larger than like, the ziggurats, and I'm like, yeah, nope.
Yeah, so he left, and the rest of the party funnels in. And as soon as they get in there in this dark cave, I go, no, my lord! And he eats pretty much everybody. And they did put up a fight, and I had to intervene at one point to stop one of the players from attacking him or whatever. But I went full betrayal on the party because it was a one-off, and I like that. I like betraying. You show me a sexy monster, and I'm going to immediately fall for it.
The reason why this was so bad is because we had a first-time player. This was their first game,
and
the experience soured it completely, and they will not play D&D again.
Yeah, which it essentially I didn't think about it because I played D&D so much that I was just like, yeah, it's another game. Forgot the fact that we have a new player.
The Bantam has a fatal condition known as one-shot betrayal-itis.
Yeah. It's
because we had a previous one shot where he betrayed the party again.
Two of them.
Two separate instances. But the point is, those were fine. Like, everyone was kind of like okay and haha at the end of it. They were okay. It was just the new player made this one very, very not okay.
Yeah. The first betrayal I ever did made sense in character. My character was very neutral, and I had Dilatan as a kobold cleric who kept getting lost and kept getting into trouble. And was always consistently at low health. And then we had a drunken monk, a drunken fighting style monk, who was also always getting lost and getting into trouble. And my character was an artificer with a like a big buff lizard man robot synth thing as my pet. And I was constantly having to rescue these two knuckleheads. And Ray was running the game. And at the end of the game, we release a demon in the basement of the mansion. And I was looking at it and I was like, holy shit, there's no way in hell that we make it out of this unscathed. And the demon literally just looks at me and is like, join me. And, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I was like...
You joined him because he was hot.
Because it was Eladrim. But but the other thing was that I was so sick and tired of dealing with the Dilatan's cleric and Nova's fucking drunken monk that I was like, all right, you know what? Screw these knuckleheads. And so I...
See, that's how he tried to validate it in character, but really you betrayed them because the demon was hot.
Well, yeah. But, again, it would have made sense in character. And the thing is that that's how I am in real life. If the trope of when the good guy finally confronts the bad guy, and the bad guy is all powerful, and the good guy's like, I don't know if we're gonna make it, guys, you know, and the bad guy's like, join me, and we can rule this world together. I'm joining every time.
Join me, Luke, and together we will rule the galaxy as father and son.
It would have been fucking great. It would have been great, but he's like, I'll never join you, and it's like, come on, man, it's your dad. Like, the thing is that I just, I love the trope of join me and we can rule this.
He likes corruption arcs. Like, instead of villain redemption arcs, he likes hero corruption
Yes,
arcs.
I love that shit, and it never
They're
happens.
really good arcs, but in a cooperative game like D&D, it's a little tricky.
Yeah, it is. But it was an entertaining thing because I got both the other two party members killed, and then I
told him next time we do a one shot, he is not allowed to betray at all. He's like banned from it just for the sake of trying out different things. He cannot betray.
Yeah. So I begrudgingly agree not to betray everybody.
I have to make the demon even sexier.
No. All right. So yeah, those are our D&D stories. The last question
before emails. Email. We'll try to go through the emails real fast.
No, we have a couple. So the last question is from Din. What unpopular opinion do you guys have on dragons? And
all right, I'm going to take the reign on this one.
Okay.
And
then I'm going to go next because mine's going to be quick.
All right. You do not need to have fire. You do not need to have a horde. And you do not need to have the impulsion to fight every fucking thing you see to be a dragon. You just got to look like it. I am sick of these three things having to be encoded into every single book we've read so far.
It's the tropes that people want to play with rather than subvert.
Yeah, I completely agree, Dilettante.
It's kind of like how elves are always really foresty or very high class. It's like they're just the tropes people have accepted.
Yeah. For me... So is that it, Dilettante?
You don't need to have magic either. Yeah, thank you, Tracy Nix. Fuck magic. That's why when I write my book, they are just going to be dragons biologically only. No fire.
There was no dragon magic in Age of Fire, or Tooth and Claw, or Lazy Scales technically, kind of, sort of. Depends if you count Last
there's
Hope.
Magic in League. The whole thing started with magic. The fuck are you talking about?
Well, I was saying it depends if you count Last Hope's spell to kick it off. I meant like, as far as the story goes, the dragon character doesn't have magic.
Yeah, because it was used up, but
the point is, it's still a story being told where the dragon doesn't have magic.
Still has fire, though. Although it is presented biologically, and I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
Fake science. Heck yeah.
Listen, I'll take fake science over magic any day.
My unpopular opinion, actually, I'm going to completely mirror what Dilettante said, and I'm going to add that dragons should not have external genitalia, that dragons are reptiles, and that...
those aren't unpopular. Those are actually the popular opinion, so those don't count.
And that dragons should be small, because the bigger a creature gets, the more unstirred. Like, they actually proved scientifically that, like...
No one cares about the 2/3, the square cube law.
I don't care. That's I don't care if it's an unpopular or popular opinion. Those are my opinions, and they're only unpopular with Ray. But yes, dragons should not have external genitalia in the slightest. It should just be a slit.
Everyone put the hatchlings to bed.
Yeah. It should just be a slit. There you go, done. And also dragons are reptiles.
Thank you, Banta. 100% agree. Ray?
Okay,
everyone pull up a chair.
I'm gonna touch up on the genitalia later because that's actually one of the email questions, surprisingly enough. So I'll touch up on that later. But my unpopular opinions, I don't believe dragons are reptiles, and I think that's the only unpopular one I have. Everything else, every other opinion I have tends to line in more with the general populace says. I think. So I think that's my only unpopular one. But I guess I will say that, like, as far as dragons having hordes, dragons having magic, dragons having fire breath, that all depends on the universe. It depends if the universe can support it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you can have different types of dragons in different stories, and it depends on what your story needs.
Yeah.
But, like, hordes, I appreciate the trope. I mean, let's face it, humans have hordes too.
I mean, not to the extent dragons have. Like,
not to the extent, but still.
And to have it as a biological impulse that some people try to write it off as, that
impulses
also...
I don't like because, again, impulses and instincts are very close to mind control. I don't like when free will is taken away, and impulses tend to do that, so I don't like impulses. I guess one... no. That's more of a... whatever. Yeah, I think most of my opinions I think are popular, or I just can't think of them right now. But they'll come up later. Alright, go on to emails.
Emails!
Alright, so the first one we have is from Trisinix.
Well, let's do the other two emails first, because...
No, we'll do his first.
Okay.
Because his arrived first.
And he's also in the audience, but you could be a part of for $5 a month.
Which is equal to 1 dragon coin. I don't remember.
Build our hordes.
Trisinix sent a very long email. So we're not gonna read it word for word on air, but we did read it all ourselves, and we loved it. We appreciate it. It was also a lot of how thankful he is for the show and how much he likes it and whatever. Which also would have felt weird to read because it would have felt very pat ourselves on the back. Like I need to now convince the rest of the listeners that Trisnix is real, because it was just a lot of really good things. But then at the end, he has some questions. So we'll go through the questions. Bantam, do you have it? Should I pull it up?
So the first question is, how niche do you think liking dragons is in this world? I don't mean those people who saw dragons in media and say, quote, yeah, dragons are cool, I like them, unquote. But those who are actively seeking for more dragon media. I feel like the number is small, but at the same time not. It seems like How to Train Your Dragon and the Dragon Prince and some other dragon media is beginning to ramp up the numbers. Furry fandom seems to have a huge portion of people having dragons as their persona. I don't know. I'm in the middle of the jungle right now, so I can't accurately gauge how many trees there are. I like that saying.
First off, we're not gonna count furry personas characters because that doesn't count.
Yeah,
that's weird and a whole other topic. And I would say that even if they have a dragon character, does not mean that they are a fan of dragons in the sense that they will read books, watch movies, dream up scenarios, whatever. Right?
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, this looks cool, right? I feel like most of the furries would fall under the dragons are cool, I guess, category that he said at the beginning.
Yeah.
How would you even measure it though? I'm trying to figure out.
The thing is, you can't measure without doing a survey of all book readers in the world, which you can't do. Any survey you put up is going to be skewed because you're asking it on a dragon forum or even a fantasy forum. You're going to get more dragon fans than you would in something sci-fi or western or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And there's no place to go and say everybody who reads books take this survey. The sample size is going to get skewed no matter where you put it. But I feel like dragon fans themselves are actually very niche. There's not a lot of them because sad truth of the world is all of the authors that exist right now are human, right? So obviously the humans are going to be the main characters and whatever. And people like to read about stuff they can identify with easier. That's how I like this character because I can see things from his point of view. So even if you don't have a human main character, it's going to be human-like. It's going to be like an elf or a dwarf or a halfling or something. Something that's easier to identify with. There are those of us that can identify with dragons or want to, or just like them enough to where, or we just like alien viewpoints so much that the more different it is from human, the better. But that's definitely an against the grain kind of outlook. And so just because of that, there's not going to ever be a huge number of, I guess, the detailed level fans that you're asking for.
Yeah.
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 Thumbs up reaction. Just yep, what he said.
Compared to these two, I'm probably on the lowest end of the spectrum when it comes to dragon fanaticism. So I can't really input much to this.
I think Bantam's lower than you on the fanaticism scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm more into mechs and cyberpunk and prosthetics and transhumanism.
But yeah, I do believe that dragon stuff is niche. I've said before, the whole point of I wanted to start the show because I had a hard time finding repositories of dragon related content. I know it's out there, and it's I know people don't know about these things that I've read before. You would find a list of people these are. I made a list of every dragon thing I could find, either on Reddit or on Goodreads with the whole shelf system. And it's I've read some stuff that aren't on these lists, so I feel like there's some that are just really hard for people to find. So I'm going to help people find it.
That is true, because I got exposed at a very young age to Basil Broketail. But it didn't stick with me. It stuck with me, but it wasn't I'm going to look up more dragon books, And it's
yeah, Basil Broketail was actually not on most of the lists that I was talking about.
Which is, well, because it's from my childhood. It a lot of people's radar seems to go back X amount of years, but it usually doesn't exceed 10. It's I even have really old D&D choose your own adventure books, And one of the adventure books, almost all of them involve dragons in some way, but I mean, because they are choose your own adventure, they're not really review worthy. But those books are like from the 70s, and I loved them as a kid. I also cheated, as I do with a lot of things in life. Like, you know, you read a page.
Everybody had 5 fingers in those books.
Yeah.
They're your save slots. So like, oh, I got a dead end. I better go back.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next question. We're kind of like dawdling.
All right, so how has starting this podcast changed your life? Or it hasn't really changed much, but something to add on to your life instead?
Honestly, my life hasn't changed much beyond the need to edit. Because
my life has changed so damn much. Never had to read so many words.
Because like, even though like all right, guys, we're reading Age of Fire right now, and like I'll read Age of Fire again, so it's fresh in my head. But at the same time, I'm also scouting out Lazy Scales and Scale Shifter and the Jane Austen Dragons book, the Pride and Prejudice with Dragons. Like I'll read other things at the same time. So the biggest change is the sitting down for 2.5 hours to record, and then the on average 5+ hours of editing afterwards. It's like, I hate the editing and I want to make you guys do it. The biggest hurdle besides editing is going to be when Dilettante makes us do Merlin eventually. Not looking forward to that.
Do Merlin?
Yeah.
Why is that going to be a hurdle?
It just is. I'm not going to enjoy it.
Okay.
I will, because it's not a book.
How much has your guys' life changed?
So for me, it has opened up my eyes to a lot of new things. The other thing it has definitely done is it has spurred me to want to write more. And the reason why is because I used to write a lot when I was a kid. And I know the day that all died is the day that I got internet. But, or, I mean, like, because I had my own video games, you know, I had a PlayStation 2 and I had games, but it was like, and then I'd go over to my computer and I'd write. And I used to write a ton, and then the internet destroyed all of that. But the thing is that I tend to find most of my motivation to write through spite alone. And so a lot of times I'll read a book and I'm like, oh, this is so fucking terrible. And there's so many tropes and cliches and I hate it. And I'm like, I could write a better book. You know, like I actually started writing out of spite way back when I was young, because I watched this movie. It was a really, really low budget kaiju movie called Garuda. And at the end of the movie, they kill it in the most contrived, stupid way possible. And it's like, I was so angry because the kaiju literally wasn't being evil and trying to kill people for the fun of it. It was searching for a mate, and the main character's girlfriend had a claw that she would scrape it on things and it would make the mating call for the Garuda. And so it would come try to find her. And they used that to lure it to its death by just gunning it down with a Gatling gun from a helicopter. And I'm like, the poor thing was horny, and it was just looking for love, and you fucking use that to manipulate it and then murder it. And so I wrote a 20-page story, like the same day, of how that's not how the movie ended. And yeah, it's like I wrote 20 pages in one night out of spite. And this podcast and some of the books we're reading is starting to awaken that in me, where I'm like, all these dragon books are stupid. I'm going to fucking write a better dragon book.
Yeah, Mating Flight got me pretty spiteful, and it actually wanted me to get started on Dilettante's journal, to write a proper journal.
Yeah.
Mating Fight was great, you guys.
Yeah. I am very sorry, Zana, but I'm going to go shuffle over to Dilettante's side here.
It's me and Zana versus you two.
Yeah.
As far as how my life has changed, my eyes have never been more heavy in the history of their existence. But as far as like getting exposed, like there has been a few good ones I've enjoyed, but it has been to see a repetitiveness, because I've noticed a lot of the themes have just been kind of the same throughout most of the other books, as far as like dragon behavior goes, and that's what's something that's kind of taken me off. Other than that, though, being forced to read, no bueno, but I shall endure. Ray's got a gun to my head. I kind of have to.
Oh, you enjoy the fans.
Yeah, no, I do stream every now and then to Discord, which you can join for free. You don't have to pay $5.
Come and bask in our presence.
All right. Next question is retaining the experience you have now. If you were to start over again, what is something you would do from the beginning?
If you could do it all over again, what would you do differently?
Yeah. Or more like whatever you've learned now, would you implement that from the beginning?
If I had to do it all over again, the start was almost like spur of the moment. Like, hey, I have this idea. Do you guys want to do this with me? They're like, yeah, sure. I'm like, all right, let's get started next week, right? Like, it was so. Doing it all over again, I would put more research into the beforehand so I could learn how to do audio tricks better. Like, what I really wanted to do, like the dream, was like to talk in dragon voices the whole time. Make your voice lower and then just go in and edit it afterwards in smog voice, right? I don't know how fun that'd be to listen to. Depends on how thick the filter
That would
was.
not be fun to do for 2.5 hours at the very wee early in the morning.
But the point is, like, that was the dream, and I wanted to do that.
He tested using a filter on his voice, and it came out pretty well. So theoretically, we wouldn't need to do voices. We would just need to have a very particular setting for a voice modulator that we could apply to our audio.
Well, no, it works better if you do alter your voice slightly. If you just talk normally and try to filter it, it's going to come out really wonky and bad. You have to like deepen it an octave and try to sound growly at the same time. It's why when you hear people, it's like why when you hear, like, if you listen to Cumberbatch doing Smog's voice without the filter, it's not his normal voice.
That is true. It is not his normal voice.
It's still the dream. If I could do that, if I knew how to do that, I would completely. If anyone knows how to, direct me to like some tutorials. Done.
But the funny thing is, though, is that the two of you would have sexy voices, and I would just sound like this all the time.
What are you, nuts? I'm the one that's going to sound like that.
No, I'm a bird.
No, he means because in character he's not a full dragon.
I'm just.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a bird.
You'd be the hyena dragon.
I mean, you have a pretty good bird voice for what you're doing right now, honestly.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't even need a filter. The one you used while trying to be in character was already perfect.
There you go.
That's amazing. I'm so jealous.
Hey, Zana,
but yeah.
Zana, I'm gonna come visit, okay? We're gonna talk for hours. We're gonna watch movies.
You actually have no idea how much I love that.
I mean, I could do that the entire podcast too.
I wonder how well I could keep like my deep gravelly voice going, considering how much I like get fired up when I start ranting. I'd start to slip back into normal voice.
It would fall as soon as you start ranting.
You would start to slip, but also it would dry out your throat real quick when you're intentionally touching.
I already drink so much while recording.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just more research before I went into how to actually do editing. Maybe the reason it takes me 5 hours because I'm doing it very poorly also. Like, there's a trick. The other thing that I would do differently is I still don't like the Wish Dragon episode and a couple of the other early ones. It's more like we were just bad at it back then. So
I mean, we didn't know what we were doing. That was our very first
now,
episode.
and the idea is of starting again, we would still know the difference now.
Well, then we do Wish Dragon 2.0.
The thing is,
well, I mean,
the thing is that the Wish Dragon episode for the first 15 episodes was still our most popular.
It's because when people look at podcasts, they listen to episode 1, and if it doesn't catch their interest, then they'll stop.
You got to start with the lore. You got to get the podcast lore.
Yeah, we should have done an episode 0 where we gave the podcast lore or something. But whatever.
We did do an episode 0, didn't we? That never aired?
No, it never. It was 20 minutes, 15 minutes. It was just us saying, "Hi, this is our name. This is what I think I am, or what I'm playing. What I'm playing as to be in character for the show." And it was just so I could test out the editing process before we committed to it. But no, it never went up.
If we get, I was gonna say, if we get X amount of patrons, episode 0. Do you still even have it?
I'd have to look. I probably do, but I probably don't have. I don't know, because that was back when whatever. I don't know. I'll have to look.
Okay.
We kind of changed how we recorded things and how I started saving things after a while. Anyway, I guess next question.
And the last question is
from Tracinix.
Tracinix. Do you think we are in the golden age of Dragon media, or is there more that can be asked from media?
All right, now this is where I didn't go too hard on question 1 because I was kind of saving it for this. When he's like, how niche do you think it is? And like, it seems like How to Train Your Dragon and Dragon Prince are beginning to ramp up the numbers. It's like, as far as the Golden Age, not quite yet. The thing is, Wings of Fire is very, very popular. There's a lot of fan fiction being written, a lot of people that are making their own dragon worlds, and their own fan tribes and all of that, all their OCs. It is a big thing. But the thing is, a lot of people who are into it are still in high school. That's just the age group it was written for. So we're not going to see dividends from this until like at least 10, maybe 20 years.
Well, on top of that, if you take 100 kids who are currently into Wings of Fire in school, and then see how many,
maybe one will become an author out of those 100.
Yeah, like you'll probably have 20 that will still think dragons are really cool, 5 who retain everything and are like, yeah, dragons are the fucking best, and then 1 who will write their own dragon book.
But the thing is, it's so popular that we will get a couple of people who want to write about dragons when they grow up and become fed up with retail work or something, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
So, like, the thing is, because Wings of Fire is popular, it is influencing a few things now. Like, maybe the popularity of dragons on the rise is why we're getting a couple more dragon things in, like, cartoons. Like, maybe Raya and the Last Dragon was only made because Disney saw how popular Wings of Fire was with Scholastic. Like, who knows? So, a couple of people are going to dip their toes in it, but we won't really see the Golden Age for another 10 or 20 years. Because most of the authors that have dragon books out right now, like, I know for a fact Tui has said it, and I think E.E. Knight from Age of Fire said it, but I might be remembering wrong. But then a couple of others that I can't remember the names of, because I like to read authors' notes and letters from the author and stuff like that. A lot of them say that they were inspired by Anne McCaffrey's Dragon Riders of Pern, which is a really old dragon series. And it actually isn't even that good because the dragons aren't as main characters as you would think. They can't talk. They're telepathic to their rider, but that's it. And it feels like a very slave-master relationship because they're just the mount, right? Main character is still the human. But, because they all say they're inspired by that. And, like, a couple other things usually. But, like, that seems to be, like, the big one that people will reference when they say, like, I wanted to write dragons because of this. Or I became interested in dragons because of this. And so give it 10 to 20 years and people will be like, I got into dragons because of Wings of Fire, or I got into writing because of Wings of Fire. And so, yeah, it'll come.
Yeah.
So, Golden Age coming, but not quite here yet.
And that is it. And we have a couple more emails.
These ones are really short. They were just people sending questions in rather than, like, the love letter that Trace Nix gave us, which I'm still thankful for.
Which we will get framed.
Framed and put it by my recording space. I'm like, motivation.
All right, so we got 2 other emails. This one is from, he says you can call him the King in Red. He says, I realize this is a dragon podcast, but I'm curious what your favorite non-dragon book / game or show is.
Are we talking still? If we're not doing fantasy, if I gotta go the absolute favorite, you guys probably know what I'm going to say.
No, I think you can pick fantasy, but you just can't pick something that centers around the dragon.
Okay.
Yeah, it's specific. The question specifically says non-dragon game or non-dragon show.
So, like, I guess if the main character was a griffin, that'd be okay, kind of deal. Just non-dragon.
Well, most of my stuff's actually not fantasy. It's more so sci-fi. Now that I'm looking at my massive desktop of icons, trying to pick one as far as games concerned.
Command & Conquer for your favorite game.
I was going to say that, but I'm like, no, that's like completely human-centered. Like, if I want to go like completely out of reality and go into the land of like fantasy or sci-fi, I'm good. Go ahead, go with Star Wars.
Ugh, Star Wars.
Don't ugh me. It's got such a vast array of lore that I still want to dive into.
I'll go next after Dill10 because I bet your raised answer is going to be long. Because are you done, Dill10?
Yes.
My answer would be Shadowrun. Everything about it, the books, the games, Shadowrun is my idealized future, and to some that's a nightmare. But for me, the concept of Megacorps and being able to, and everything is fucking LED and weird Japanese aesthetic, and the fact that there's both magic and high technology, mechanical prosthetics, transhumanism. I'm obsessed with things like Cyberpunk 2077. The day that I get to go into a store and buy a new left arm and be able to fucking fire rockets out of it or punch a hole in the wall, like I'm all about that shit. The setting of Cyberpunk of Shadowrun, and the reason I specify Shadowrun is because Cyberpunk doesn't have magic, whereas Shadowrun, you have shamans, you have netrunners, and you have street samurai, which were the three basic classes from the Sega Genesis game, which was the first time I'd ever been exposed to Shadowrun. But I just loved the fact that vampires and werewolves exist. Technically, dragons do exist, but they're not central to anything. But anthropomorphic animals exist. It's everything. It's basically a giant cauldron that you can just pour anything into and mix it, and it's like, yep, there you go. That fits in Shadowrun. A lot of people don't know this, but the old D&D books based on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were incredibly gritty and dark, because the entire plot of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles RPGs were that it took place after the apocalypse, where human beings were essentially pretty much gone. I believe the plot is that the bad guys managed to use the ooze that transformed the turtles, and they managed to basically coat the planet in it. So everything became anthropomorphic animals. And I remember there was one book I had, it was the Australia expansion, and it had like a kangaroo like with a shotgun blowing echidna in half, just blood everywhere.
What the fuck?
It's very violent. Like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles RPG was not something that kids should ever play, because it was violent as shit. But it's just basically any high fantasy that can also involve technology, because I don't think I'd be happy with a purely mystical, magical fantasy. I would want there to be technology. I'd want there to be guns and rail guns and cybernetics. So yeah, that's my answer.
The typing you might have heard in the background was me trying to sort my Steam library by hours played. I'm like, it's like favorite's really hard. It's like, because like I talked earlier how my biggest problem with staying focused on one thing is just my mood switches, my passion switches, my desire switches very often. So favorite kind of like depends on what flavor am I feeling this month. But if we go by hours played, my favorite game is Clicker Heroes. 1,252 hours in an idle game. But to be fair, I left it online overnight sometimes to farm. Favorite book is kind of easy. I'll just go based on the book that I think I've reread the most. If we have to go with non-dragon, we have to like drop all the way down to like the 4th spot. But still, it would be Mercedes Lackey and Larry Dixon's The Black Griffin series. I guess my favorite game genre, that might be easy to say, is kind of semi-casual simulator-esque things. Like, Stardew Valley is really great, but I consider that it's a farming simulator, right? And then, like, Anno is really good, and that's a city-building simulator. And then I've even played a construction simulator. I've played Viscera Cleanup Detail, which is a janitor simulator.
I love that game.
I love that game.
Ray and I actually played that game a lot when we were like trying to discuss or think about like plans for future stuff. We would just play that.
Yeah, it's one of those keep your hands busy while your mind wanders.
Yeah, the two of us are just talking back and forth, and then every once in a while I'd say something like, "Hey, Ray, got some bullet casings over here." He'd be like, "All right."
It's the fidget spinner of games. But yeah, so simulators I really love. Like, especially of the God game variety, but those haven't been very popular recently. There haven't been a lot coming out. And RPGs, like Divinity 2. Maybe I'd say that's probably my most replayed game, actually, now I think about it. Except for short games that, whatever. I don't know, whatever. Favorites are hard, man.
Yeah, if I have to go by hours myself, it would probably be Skyrim. 2,200.
How do you sort your Steam games by hours played?
You can't do it in the Steam launcher. You have to go to the website, log on to the website in the browser.
No, you don't. You go to your profile and then you go to all games.
Profile.
Oh, is that where it is in the?
View.
Yeah, go to the fourth tab, to go all games, and it's automatically sorted by hours.
Fourth tab, all games.
Yeah, library, community.
Go to profile, and then on the right you have to say games. Then you say all games.
Games. All games. And this automatically, filters by, so for me it's Stellaris, 730 hours.
Nice.
Followed by Monster Hunter World, 470 hours, and then Divinity Original Sin 2 for 420 hours.
Skyrim, 2,222, Fallout 4, 735, Anno 2070, 572, then No Man's Sky, then XCOM 2.
I've got Clicker Heroes at 1,500, then Zelda Singularity, which is another idle clicker
those
game
don't
at
count, though. The
750.
games literally require
then
you just...
the one below that would be Dota 2 at 500 hours. And I know for a fact League of Legends is in the thousands. Below that would be Total War Warhammer 2. Then Stellaris, then Ark, then Divinity 2, then Civ 6. Most of those games definitely are they beg replays because they're either really short campaigns or really short battles or whatever. Like the games I definitely have the most fun playing would definitely be the simulators, which Ark counts as a simulator, but I definitely want to kind of prop up Stardew Valley and Anno, right? Mm-hmm. But whatever. Anyway, last question.
All right, and the last one. This one, he didn't leave a name. So he asks, or they ask, why is Ray so adamantly wrong about dragon genitalia? Why is he so against cloacas?
Why is there an attack against my person?
Anonymous person, I love you.
I don't like you. No, I love all my listeners, okay? Okay. The in-character answer is, well, because I got balls. I don't know what's wrong with all these other dragons from all these other worlds, but come on, include me, right? The out-of-character answer is, first off, I don't believe that dragons are reptiles, nor do I believe they are birds, and so they should not have cloacas. From a biology standpoint, I figure that they're a bit closer to Look, wyverns would be closer to birds, especially the wyverns and the drak from Golden Treasure because of the way they're shaped. Closer to birds, sure. Dragons I consider closer to mammals because they're still four-legged terrestrial things that just happen to have wings, so they're
Komodo dragons are four-legged terrestrial things.
But still, it's just
Jacques Hughes.
But the thing is, they also, in most depictions of dragons, they don't have to lounge about in the sun because they're not cold-blooded.
What are you talking about? I see them sunning with their wings stretched out like solar panels all the time.
No, that's not because they're cold-blooded. It's because they're just being lazy.
If
they're cold-blooded, you couldn't have Arctic dragons. You couldn't have volcanic dragons.
The thing is, Diletan, is that realistically, I would imagine that the arrangement of a dragon's wings, it would actually require effort to keep them folded. If a dragon were to fully relax and just let go, I guarantee you their wings would droop and fall.
They don't fall.
So having
no, I'm not talking about drooping. I'm talking about extended up in the air as wide as possible.
That's just because that's because when you want to draw a dragon, you have to make it look majestic. Of course, you're going to be in that pose.
Majestic.
But the biggest reason, and just this is a little adult, I guess. I just find the balls and whatever visually, aesthetically pleasing. I swear it's not a pointing, guys. I swear. It's just it makes sense. It just feels right. It's I feel like the biggest reason they don't have those drawn in artwork is because you're gonna draw a horse in a picture and you're not gonna draw the horse's balls. Does that mean it has a cloaca now too?
Well, no, but because most balls on the horses are removed for population control reasons.
Now you're just getting facetious. All these teenage girl posters of a pack of wild horses just running in a field, right? Wild horses. You don't draw the genitals on those things. It's just people just don't want to avoid drawing it, and people
that's a whole different conversation.
But the point is that for the same reason people have not drawn genitals on dragons, and people have just latched on to that, they're not drawn or they're not sculpted on this 3D model for the movie, so obviously they don't have it then. People are just basically sheeping their way into it, and I just fight against that because to me it just makes more sense and is a little more aesthetically pleasing if it's all external.
Aesthetically pleasing.
Also, a lot of time, like, oh, now we're getting into biology. The whole reason creatures have balls in the first place is to help regulate the temperature so they don't kill off their sperm, right? And if you're going to make dragons as hot-blooded as they are half the time, how many times has someone touched a dragon like, wow, he feels really warm? You're not going to have sperm at that point.
Unless there's...
maybe dragon sperm is
yeah,
different.
I was going to say...
Fucking firing off lava.
All right. Calm down, Ray Ray. Pat, pat, pat.
Also, it would probably feel uncomfortable as hell flying through the air with your balls just, like, struggling against the wind at, like, 100 miles an hour.
Okay, more biology here. They would just kind of tuck up the same. If a person was going to run around naked, the balls get kind of retract a bit so they don't flop around. Go outside right now. Go running around the block, and then cop yourself a feel. Your balls will be retracted.
They will not.
Yeah, except
the whole nature of testicles in most animals is they try to rise or lower to maintain the perfect temperature. If you ran around, you would be building up body heat. Your balls would actually descend. It's only when they're cold that they would go up.
No, but they would also retract just to be held, so they're not being injured, flopping around everywhere.
All right.
I actually read some tribes in the desert would actually tie their genitals up to keep them from sagging too low to hit the cactus. To hit cacti when they're running through.
Sounds like an internet joke.
That's a shit post.
That's a shit post. All right, I think that's good. We're at we're almost at 3 hours, and I don't split this into two. It's our anniversary episode.
No. I wonder how much is going to cut out, though.
Well, I don't think it'll be 47 minutes.
We'll probably cut about half an hour because there was a lot of time we were saying that, like, who's going to say something next?
Well, that's why...
And there's also a lot of tangents to trim, and then I don't know how much of this ball talk is going to stay in it.
All right.
I know Ray is going to cut out everything to keep his point right.
But I do want to...
Yeah, you also know I'm very nervous about our age rating, so it's like, I don't know if the balls are going to stay in.
But I do want to thank all the listeners who have stuck with us this far, who have given this podcast a chance.
And putting up with our bullshit.
Not to exclude anyone, but, just the names that come to mind. You got Teresa, Nix, Zana. Sorry, Zana. Sorry.
By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that you are proper age in your country to be listening to such ramblings.
We got...
There, I'm absolved of all liability now.
All right, well, cut the call-outs because instead I'm just going to thank individual people who sent in questions. So thank you, Din Din, Teresa, Nix, Zana. Thank you, Comrade. Thank you, Van Glowboy. It's an honor to have you here.
The King in Red and
the King in Red and Anonymous Dragon. and Venter. So thank you guys so much for providing questions for us, because otherwise this would have just been a really stupidly boring episode.
It's like a birthday party when no one comes. Oh
God, the worst.
Just 3 dragons with party hats saying they're being sad.
That what's that green text from D&D about that?
Oh, the copper dragon.
The copper dragon that they lied to and said they'd come back.
Dude, the entire Reddit allied against
people,
the party.
DMs everywhere ran one-shots where people went to go throw parties for that fucking dragon. It's literally
he's been adopted into so many people's homebrew worlds.
Yeah, literally a fictional dragon that one party just nonchalantly shafted and treated like crap, and he got 1,000 millions of parties to make up for it. But yeah, so we wanted to thank you so much for giving this podcast a chance and sticking with us for this first year. We are learning a lot of lessons, and we will refine the podcast going forward to make sure everything is nicer. I told Ray, I was like, one of the most exciting things ever was buying the little kobolds for the Patreon tiers, because it felt good to put something to pretty up the Patreon. Having this Discord, I'm not a very social person. Even on this Discord, I don't talk too much, and but I talk here more than I ever thought I would. On our podcast Discord. Because I prefer Telegram, where I can send stickers, but I do find myself checking it at least 2 or 3 times a day and responding to things. And any other closing thoughts, you guys?
Help us build an even better second year by sending in your suggestions. Like
send more suggestions at our
and
books,
games,
please.
Well, I meant both, like, content suggestions, like what should I do, what should I make these guys read, right? Like I'll eventually start holding votes when we have enough people to where voting feels better than like 5 people just being like, I picked this. But
speaking of votes, I got an idea about that I wanted to run by you guys. So after Merlin, I was actually thinking about doing this instead of Merlin, but each of us, instead of like doing a random list of what the fuck to read, the 3 of us each pick one thing to recommend for the audience. Bantam pick, Dilla pick, Ray pick, and they choose which one to do.
For the sake of more than 3 choices, what if choice 4 and choice 5 was like continuing previous things also? So they have 5 choices now.
That would be good, because choice
4 could be the sequel to Meeting Flight, and choice 5 could be the sequel to something else that we did and we're going to come back to that I forgot.
That sounds like a good idea, because I was actually going to side against Dilettante in a way, because if... Well, no. We each suggest something, because at that point it's skewed, because Dilettante and I are always going to pick a non-book. And so...
It'd be one book and
it'd be
2
one
non-books.
book and 2 non-books, and we will burn through the non-book stuff, and eventually it'll just be all books.
Yeah, this might be slightly cheating and giving me 3 choices, because I would pick 2 things that we could continue.
Yeah, you'd always pick the book sequels.
Yeah, well, book 4 and 5 would always be book sequels, but then choice 3 would be a new series that I think you guys would enjoy, and then guys would put forward games or movies, and then that's 5 things to choose between. Yeah, we can start doing that after we get our interviewed.
Yeah.
All right.
But also, like, so suggestions for content, yes, but like I also made suggestions for what would make the show more enjoyable to you, or what would make the Discord a fun place to hang out in. Do you think us doing dragon voices through the whole episode would be fun, or would it be annoying? I want feedback. So like I said, this is my first podcast. I'm kind of just taking inspiration from a few D&D podcasts that I listen to, but it's like, what do you think would be more enjoyable? I'm in new ground, and I'm willing to listen to suggestions. But yes, thank you for coming. 3 hours that I have to edit through. Make you guys do.
All right. Dilettante, did you have any? Yeah. Dilettante, did you have any closing thoughts?
No balls on dragons.
Here. Motion to pass? Granted.
Oh shit, where's my sticker? Fuck. Where's the gavel?
While you're looking...
Different biologies from different universes. Come on,
Okay.
guys. Don't body shame me.
All right, so we do have a Twitter at officialwadpod, which Dilettante and I are now tag teaming. And our email is wadpodcastmail@gmail.com. And we do have a Patreon at patreon.com/worldofdragonspodcast. We are absolutely delighted that you've stuck with us for this long. If you're listening for the first time, go ahead and just, give yourself some credit. Sure. Yeah, you could just pretend that you listened since the beginning. Just go back and listen to all the old episodes. That way, because...
I mean, it's completely viable that they would just listen to the ones they care about, right?
Well, the thing is that anytime you find a podcast that you're interested in, you need to go back and listen to the very first episode. And so I'm...
Just see how far they've come?
No, actually, there's a very good reason. So one of my favorite podcasts, kind of a plug, the F+. The F+ has a ton of in-jokes and callbacks. And they actually, on their 200th episode anniversary, they actually talked about it. And someone said, do you ever think about the people who, this is their first episode? And he goes, oh, God. He goes, I would highly suggest that you only listen from here on out. And someone else said, no, they got to go back to the beginning. And he goes, but why? We sounded terrible back then. And they're like, well, because they need to start learning about the in-jokes. Because one of their in-jokes is a restaurant called Well Known Food Place, which is just, it's a joke. And you wouldn't get it unless you listen to the episode where that joke formed. And So yeah, any little side jokes or whatever, you got to go back to the beginning and just listen.
You know what? You should all go back to the beginning and just listen. In fact, re-listen just so I can have higher stats on my podcast.
God, I remember the episode where we started at 3 a.m.
Yeah, just we'll get more stats. We'll show up faster on all the searches. It's like, yep. All right, we good?
Yeah.
Good. Goodbye, travelers. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys want to go play Scalebound?
Yeah, let's go play Scalebound.
Oh, yeah, I've been dying to go.